Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the Sean O'Connell Show. USA, USA, USA. Gold medals in men's Olympic hockey, in women's Olympic hockey. Team USA, we are now hockey land. Doesn't it feel good? The first time in 46 years that the United States has won hockey gold, and you did it against a Canadian team that was the who's who. It's an all-star squad, as is, of course, Team USA in the NHL. But Canada has the best of a previous generation, the best of a current generation, the best two of a current generation. What a game on Sunday morning. Milan Cortina, Italy. The games are over, which I'm a little melancholy about. It's been a lot of fun having the Olympics to care about and cover and watch. But we have another international showcase happening this summer with the World Cup in North America. That'll be fun to get into. Obviously, spring ball's right around the corner. March Madness is even closer than that. So thank you, Winter Olympics, for giving us a couple of weeks to bridge between football season and everything else that matters. Show today and every day is brought to you by our friends down at Big Willie's, 1717 South Main. You're like, oh, man, I've been watching the Olympics at Big Willie's. I've been taking advantage of the delicious food, the drink specials, all that. Now what am I going to do? Well, that's the beauty of Big Willie's. They've got trivia nights. They've got bingo. They've got the pool hall, number one pool hall in the state of Utah. And whatever is on those big screen TVs, they're going to make sure you're enjoying yourself and treated well in a family atmosphere at Big Willie's, 1717 South Main Street. Happy to have them as part of the show. Man, hopefully all of you have late church right now. I know it goes in cycles, or I think it goes cyclically where your church times change, but I hope you got to wake up early and watch USA versus Canada in that gold medal game. 1-1, down to the wire, overtime game, 3-on-3, Hughes with the game winner, and just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful finish for not only USA hockey in the Olympics, but kind of the Olympic game. That's like the last major event of the Olympic Games, and USA goes out in style, winning the gold medal. And I know that we are a relatively new hockey market here in Salt Lake City. It's awesome that our guy, Clayton Keller, gets a gold medal. It's kind of a bummer he didn't get to play more in this tournament. It's kind of a bummer that he didn't play in the gold medal game. There was some mention on the broadcast and certainly on social media, especially when it went into overtime, how he is just nails in 3-on-3, and that might be a good opportunity for his speed to come into play and things like that. Ultimately, he was not needed in that regard, and you ended up with a victory anyway. And look, not all captains are created equal. Not all teams have the same needs. The chemistry of that team and its particular lines didn't need Clayton Keller in every game to go undefeated through the Olympics. But he's still an important part of the team, and he's bringing a gold medal back to Salt Lake City. And more importantly than that, and Mike Tirico hit this, I think, on the broadcast, and the generation of young people in the state of Utah were already kind of sparked to this whole hockey thing. Smith Entertainment Group, Ryan and Ashley Smith, they've done a good job of helping to build infrastructure already in this very fledgling effort for hockey to become a thing in the state of Utah, for the athletes in the state of Utah to start funneling their talents towards hockey potentially. And now those 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds that we used to be just got to watch an Olympic gold medal won with one of their guys celebrating on the ice. A dude whose sweater they probably have at home gets to bring a gold medal back to Salt Lake City. And I can promise you this, they're going to make the most of it from a marketing standpoint, from a grassroots hockey grow it effort standpoint. I'm really excited to see exactly how that looks when Kells gets back. I know that they've got bigger fish to fry right now trying to make these NHL playoffs. But I didn't even think much about it until it happened on Sunday morning, that we're all intimately aware of the 1980 Miracle on Ice team, and we've all seen and heard Mike Eruzione and company speak, and we've seen the movie Miracle, and we know Kurt Russell more than we know actually Herb Brooks, but most of us, a good chunk of us, were not alive when that happened. We didn't get to watch it on tape delay. We didn't get to watch it for real. We didn't get to experience the upset, the joy, the exuberance. We didn't get to watch the media tour after. We didn't get to see all the players on late night television talking about how much it means to win the gold medal. Now we get to actually, like, this is an inflection point in hockey in the United States of America, and it's happening 2 years after the inflection point, the major inflection point for hockey in the state of Utah. And there's going to be, at some point, I was joking with my nephew about this. He's 11 years old, right? And I called him after, because he's, of course, over the moon that Team USA won, even though Connor McDavid's his favorite player, and he felt bad for Connor McDavid. And I'm talking to this 11-year-old, who obviously I love very much. It's my sister's kid, and he's a hockey head. He lives in Boston. His dad pours them a backyard rink every year. It freezes over their grass. They skate every day when it's cold. Like, they are hockey, right? He's 11 years old, and he's like, man, we got to go to the gold medal game when it's in Salt Lake City. I'm going to come visit you. I said, yeah, you're going to get me a free ticket because you're going to be on the team. And he started laughing, and I was like, what? You don't think you could do it? He's like, no, I could do it. And I was like, I'm getting cheesy, I'm getting corny here, but, like, why not? He's the best player on his team right now in Boston. He scored 4 goals in his game this weekend, and he just got to watch Team USA win a gold medal. In that, like, 10-14 for me is kind of like where the bulk of your best sports memories, like the seminal moments, the like core memories of sports, a lot of them are formed in there because you, at that point, as a young person, you're deciding for yourself what you like now. Your parents probably told you, this is my favorite team, this is your favorite player, let's do this together. They're deciding now for themselves, right? I wish I could transport myself into his little 11-year-old brain and figure out how much he can actually believe that maybe he could skate wearing that Team USA sweater. And even if it's not my own nephew, there's 25 kids around the country that are feeling that way, and it's actually going to be true for them when they're competing in Salt Lake City. You know how cool that is? The gift that this USA hockey team gave to our entire country with the brotherhood they displayed, with the way that they spoke about their gratitude to be American while on the ice, after being like backstage, all that stuff. I mean, Hughes is smiling with a bloody mouth and 3 teeth at least partially missing from something that happened 9 minutes earlier in that game. And he's just, it doesn't bother me. You know what I mean? It was a beautiful thing. Like, cue the bald eagles screeching, God bless America, give me some John Denver through the pipes, whatever, man. That was a beautiful moment. And we have a complicated political situation in our country, just like every country does. There's these culture wars going on that I have no interest participating in. That, for me, was just boil it down. Aren't we all proud to be Americans watching that group? Whether you're a hockey fan or not, whether you're a patriot or not, you couldn't help but feel some warm fuzzies watching that group of young men win gold, achieve their dreams, wash out bad memories for the generation before them and the generation before them. I mean, the Eruzione 1980 team, those guys have grandkids this age that are now in like the Macklin Celebrini conversation. You know what I mean? This is such a cool thing. And you did it against a juggernaut squad. I heard people trying to bring the hot takes over the weekend. This is a bigger upset than the 1980 team. It's not. Those were college kids against Soviet pros. But what it is it's in some ways it's like better almost, because it's we have always been shoulder to shoulder with you, Canada, or not always, but recently we've been shoulder to shoulder with you, Canada, where we've got a bunch of hockey all-stars, you got a bunch of hockey all-stars. We've got some of the best guys in the world, you've got some of the best guys in the world. And now we adopted this game that is your game. Canada, that's their thing. That is their national passion and pastime. And we won the gold medal. We took the top spot.
Our game now.
It's our game now. Sorry, Canada. And by the way, salty Canadians.
Oh, my gosh.
It's the funniest thing I've ever seen because you kind of expect it. Honestly, I couldn't help but draw the parallels between, like, you expect a BYU fan base to be like a little bit classier because of their association, right? You kind of expect the same thing from Canada because they have this reputation for politeness and non-confrontational attitudes and things like that. But when it doesn't go their way, wow.
The one dude who's some kind of influencer, I don't keep track of all that stuff, dude. But the one guy that said anybody who celebrates this victory is a casual.
Okay.
Like,
all
right, we're all casuals then.
I'm a super casual then.
Because we celebrated a win. They got a gold medal. These guys, that's what drives me nuts. Is I understand the emotion, and I've been I've been someone who's done this privately, but I'm one way when we win. Like if the U.S. had lost that way and they had 20 more shots than Canada, and lose a heartbreaker like that, and they said, we were the better team. We were the better team. Like the Canadians would have been all over U.S. fans for doing that, and then the Canadians are doing that themselves. Like just the inconsistency drives me nuts.
McKinnon did it himself.
Yeah.
Be the judge of who is the better team in this game.
All right, we're gonna let the scoreboard be the judge, my guy.
Like
Avs guy, by the way.
Yeah, that's a Colorado Avalanche. Sour grapes. Guess what, Canada? Now you have to ship all the maple syrup to us. It belongs to us now.
And all your hockey sticks and gear.
Canada's ours. All right. I'll take the Northwest Territory.
We'll take Sportsnet too from you.
Okay. You know what? I love Calgary and the Calgary Stampede. I want that. All right? It's ours. Sorry, Canada.
We'll take Calgary's Space Needle. We'll put that in Seattle, too.
Quebec, instead of putting it in a different city.
Just two Space Needles.
Just give 2 Space Needles in the same city. Okay, bold design choice, James. I don't hate it, though. All right?
Well, you know what? Let's put it in Montana. They don't got much.
All of you French-speaking Quebecois, guess what? You've got to come move to Louisiana now, all right?
Our French
You're all
area.
Cajuns.
Yeah.
Sorry about your luck, Canada. And guess what? All of you will like it better because there's less snow. No, it's amazing to see, and I get it. Like, we are all guilty of this, where it doesn't go your way. You don't get the one thing, and they wanted it so bad.
Well, of course.
There's no argument that the nation of Canada wanted this gold medal more than the United States wanted this medal.
Absolutely. It's in the Summer Olympics, it's the same thing for us as men's basketball is. Where it's like if we don't win the gold, we lose our minds.
Honestly, I don't even
it might
think
be
that's
even bigger deal.
I don't even think that's a correct analogy. What this is if American football, if like whoever wins the Grey Cup in Canada, if the Saskatchewan Roughriders came down and played
and
for
just beat the Seahawks,
and they just like, all right, you really want to see world champs? It's our Grey Cup champions versus your Super Bowl champions. And then they won. We'd just be like, oh, what?
Yeah, well.
What? No. And even that's not an accurate analogy because it would be taking the best players from Canada, all the best American football players from Canada, putting them against our like Pro Bowl teams.
Yeah, it's like all-star game between the two leagues. Yeah.
So they don't, because you can always make your excuses, right? If it's the Seattle Seahawks, Darnold's their quarterback. If we were really doing best on best, we would rather have like Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen be our quarterback for that game. We use Sam Darnold. They beat us with Sam Darnold. Guess what? This was all-star team versus all-star team. This is why I desperately want the NFL to figure out something here with like your state of origin and make them care, because everyone cared. That Team USA Hockey, they cared so deeply, so much about this. Canada cared so deeply, so much about this. And look, they had, what, a 15-shot on goal advantage in this game?
And listen, because of that, it's not wrong to say for Nathan McKinnon and the other sour grapes Canadian hockey fans out there to say publicly like they did, Canada was the better team. But you also have to say, but Team USA won.
Well,
and you can't make an excuse to say that Team USA doesn't you make it sound like Team USA doesn't deserve the gold medal. You can say, hey, Canada dominated that game in many ways, but Hellebuck stood on his head. Hats off to Team USA.
And by the way, for Connor Hellebuck, who has been derided as being a great regular season goalie who can't win the big one, he just won the biggest of the big ones.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's different in a one-game scenario than it is over a 7-game series, but he was good all tournament long, right, for this Olympic thing. And maybe for Winnipeg, maybe this translates. Maybe that was the monkey he needed to shake off his back. Maybe he had that self-doubt of what's wrong with me in big games. Now you are going up against the murderer's row all day long, the best players in the NHL, minus Sid the Kid, who was injured, Sidney Crosby, the Canadian captain, injured in this game. Obviously not, it must be a serious injury or else he would have played, right? But you're turning away the best of the best of the best.
When
you are stopping Cole McCarr, you are McKinnon, McDavid. By the way, McDavid, he's screwed up in that overtime period. He left a puck on the it was exactly what Canada wanted, right? The fastest, nastiest, most dangerous shooter in the league on the attack, wearing the maple leaf, and he's handling the puck, going 200 miles an hour headlong toward Connor Hellebuck, and he just leaves the puck. It just gets poke checked away from him.
He didn't get a shot off. Like,
not did he didn't. He skated past the puck. He mishandled the puck, and it was like, I was like, oh crap, here it goes.
Yeah,
right? And
same.
he just turned it over. So
Eddie
if you're Canadian,
Olczyk was great on that. He said it just looked like he couldn't slow himself down in time to actually get a shot off.
It's crazy because there's sour grapes about the fact that it goes 3-on-3. The Canadian coach, Canadian manager was just like, well, there's a reason why we don't do 3-on-3 in the Stanley Cup Finals, because it's different hockey. It's not real hockey. Team USA killed a 5-on-3 power play in order to keep that game tied. All right.
The goal is the biggest moment, and the save, this literal skinny part of the stick save by Hellebuck, those are the two biggest moments.
How about McAvoy in the crease when that huge mess is happening, and there's 10 players in the crease. Canada's hacking away. The puck's bouncing all over the place. Hellebuck goes basically down on hands and knees outside of the crease almost, or creeping outside of the crease. And McAvoy has to put himself in goalie position, no mask, whatever. Puck hits him in the chest and bounces away.
Yeah.
Like, it was a beautiful team effort.
I really feel like the 5-on-3 has an argument for being, in hindsight, and I felt it in the moment too, that if Team USA gets out of this, if they kill this penalty, both these penalties, like that could be the biggest moment in one of the biggest moments in USA hockey history. And they did it.
Backbreaker for Canada. And then Team USA, right, hands us some momentum back. You got a double minor on the high stick against Hughes. He loses teeth. And you've got 4 minutes of a power play. And it ended up being 3 minutes of a power play because then you incur what was a hooking penalty. And So their 2-minute power play overlaps, so where you've got a 3-minute man advantage, and then you're skating even, and then they've got a man advantage. And it was just like, that's at the end of the game for the gold medal. That is best on best on best. And the thing with Canada, right? I'm glad we brought up the Seahawks because that might be the team that is the best analogy for what Canada is right now as an international squad. Defensive pairings, maybe there's a couple of Americans, maybe there's a couple of Finns, maybe that you would put on that Canada squad and say we could make this even better. But not in their top pairing, right? The forward lines, you're not probably taking anybody else from the world to mess up the lineup they've got, at least in the top 2 lines. And then they have Jordan Binnington in goal. It's a little bit like having the best defense in the NFL, having 2 really, really good running backs, having an awesome offensive line.
Maybe the best receiver in the league.
Maybe the best receiver in the league and a really nice accessory piece, a burner and Rashid Shaheed, right? You've got an awesome tight end. And then you have Sam Darnold. And respect to Sam Darnold. Respect to Binnington, too. But it's like, if we're playing that old Sesame Street game, one of these things is not like the other. You look at Binnington as a goaltender, and he's not cut from the same caliber that McKinnon is and McCarr is and McDavid is. And I guess you have to have an M name, maybe.
Yeah, it's like, staying in the same sport, going to the NHL, McKinnon's got to feel like, man, my national team, the goalie's the biggest weakness, although Binnington is better than Stuart Skinner. But also my club team, the Oilers, and Stuart Skinner has been the weakness on our all-star squad in Edmonton. Like, if you're McDavid, you got to be feeling a little bit like, man, can I get a goalie that's somewhere close to my caliber of a forward here?
I mean, and by the way, what are you going to do? You're going to give Bobrovsky Canadian citizenship?
Yeah, right. That's national teams. You can't do much. You can maybe, we talked about with some of the Olympics where Americans who have family ties to other countries and competing for other countries. You could look for something like that, but if you're Canada, it's like we can find our own actual Canadian goalie. We ought to be able to.
Maybe, can you?
We ought to be able to.
Where's Patrick Waugh when you need him?
He's not walking through that. He's not skating through that door.
And look, Canada no longer comfortable with their role as our hat.
Nope.
Okay, they want to be they want to win the hockey stuff. We win on the women's side and the men's side.
Hey, they're coming for basketball too. They got a loaded squad in basketball.
They do. And the Sour Grapes is hilarious to see. Well, the Hughes brothers, they developed in Canada. They're Canadian hockey kids. Okay, are you saying that these American citizens should play for Canada then? You need Americans to win hockey? Canada, right? It's just like, no matter what, it's a losing argument for Canadians. And there's probably 1 or 2 Canadian transplants listening right now, and it's probably getting deep under your pasty skin that I'm saying these things, but this is what is so incredible about international sport, especially when you've got all these eggs in the hockey basket. And, we are lucky enough in Utah to now start caring about hockey. In Canada, this is a birthright. You are born with this. This is the thing you care about in a way that is not even directly translatable to the United States, because unless you're like both of your parents were college basketball players or something, like you're probably a basketball family in a way that you don't maybe care about baseball, you don't maybe care about football, but we spread our love, right? Canada, it's like we care only about hockey, and sometimes we like baseball, and sometimes we like basketball.
There's plenty of Canadians because they're just north of us. They're way in the NFL and NBA and baseball too. But yeah, it seems to be, at least from a perception wise for us down here, outside looking in, that even with that, hockey is still by far the passion, right?
And I'll say this. in a time where you as a parent are probably just like, man, I don't know if my kids can look up to the athletes the way I used to look up to the athletes. And let's be honest, we probably shouldn't have been looking up to the athletes the way we did, but we didn't have social media. You didn't know as much about people, whatever. And I don't expect people to be heroes. It was really, really cool to see Team USA in their moment of glory, in the moment where, I mean, again, a lot of these guys are 20-somethings, right? In that moment, these guys had enough presence of mind, enough emotional intelligence, whatever, to go find Johnny Gaudreau's kids and bring them into the team picture and have his sweater held up. That was, again, I cried about the Michaela Schifrin stuff. I cried as soon as I saw that because for people who don't know, there's the Hughes brothers, right? There's the Tkachuk brothers. The Gaudreau brothers were big-time parts of the American hockey culture. Junior hockey coming up, and then obviously Johnny was the better player.
Johnny Hockey, right?
Johnny Hockey.
Wasn't that the nickname?
He was the leading international competition goal scorer for Team USA, right? And he and his brother were killed by, allegedly, a drunk driver in a biking accident. They're riding their bikes the night before their sister's wedding. A family celebration turns into a tragedy, not only for the family, but for the hockey community in the United States. Johnny was a member, would have been definitively, undoubtedly a member of this Team USA.
Probably would have been captain, right? Austin Matthews wore the C. He's the best scorer, but the way that that Johnny was revered, I would guess that he probably would have been captain in these games.
3-year-old daughter, 2-year-old son, Johnny Jr., and the family was invited to Milan. We want you to come watch us. And they were like, I don't know, because obviously it's painful because Johnny should be there. And the team felt that way. The players on the team felt that way. Not just like Team USA wanting a good photo op. The players on the team felt that way so profoundly that in the moment of their celebration, their glory, they wanted to make sure that Johnny Hockey was involved. And they went into the stands and they got his kids and they brought none of their kids were in the picture. The Tkachuk brothers didn't go grab their kids. Nobody else went and was just like, I need to make sure I get my kid in the picture with me. They went and grabbed Johnny's kids, his 3-year-old daughter, Noah, and Johnny Jr., and they brought him into the picture. If that doesn't tug at your heartstrings, while his widow and his parents are sitting there watching these guys, these uncles of the kids, go and say, no, I need Johnny to be here with me when we're celebrating our gold medal. I'm getting emotional talking about it again. That's what hockey culture is, and we're learning it. That's what sports culture is. That's what Mike Tirico was trying to tell you. It is a life-changing thing. This is the stuff. These are the dreams that you should have when you're a little kid. And they all kind of came up chasing it together. I saw a tweet. Somebody dug this thing up. That it was after the 2010, if I'm not mistaken, the 2010 loss on the golden goal by Sidney Crosby. Is that the right year?
Yeah, the Vancouver games. Home game for Canada, and what a dream ending that ended up being.
Beautiful for them, right?
Yeah.
Oh, which, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, 3-on-3 hockey in that one, wasn't it?
I don't know for sure.
Yeah,
Probably was.
I'm
But
99%
also,
sure.
every regular season overtime game, John Cooper, head coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning, don't act like you're not used to playing 3-on-3 hockey.
Also, you wouldn't have been in the gold medal game if it wasn't for 3-on-3 hockey twice in this Olympic tournament.
Don't talk about
anyway,
how things should have been different. Just own the loss. You're fine.
Somebody dug up a tweet from like 2010, 2011. And it was about youth hockey participation in the United States of America. It had reached an all-time high after that Team USA run to almost gold, almost glory. And whoever this was, I wish I would have screenshotted it. Whoever this was had the foresight, I'm sure without realizing, to say, watch out 2026 Olympics. Team USA, because youth hockey had reached its all-time high. Youth hockey participation in the United States had reached its all-time high coming off of that tournament or whatever. And that's where we're at now. Your kid, don't spend money on the Xbox. Tell him you watch that on Sunday morning with us. Let's get you some skates and see what it looks like. And you know what? There's a 99.99999% probability your kid never gets to be Jack Hughes, never gets to be Connor Hughes, never gets to be any of these dudes. But maybe they will. And just having that belief as a possibility when you're 10 or 11 or younger or a little bit older is a beautiful thing and part of our American sports culture that we cannot let die. Thank you, USA Hockey, for injecting a little bit more adrenaline, a little bit more life into that belief. Beautiful stuff this weekend. Thank you to the Olympics, man. What a pleasure to be able to live in this country, to be able to talk sports in this country, to be able to care about sports in this country, to have the kind of life we have where we can pretend sports are that important. Because sometimes they are. All right, got to take a break. Ari Temkin's going to join us next. We have Freddie Coleman joining us at about 12:15 today. Isaac Shade is going to join us from the Locked On College Basketball podcast in the 1 o'clock hour. Really interesting things going on in the Big 12. It's the Sean O'Connell Show. Just getting started on a Monday. ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. February 1980, the number one song on the charts, Blondie. We told Ari Temkin, hey, call me. Let's talk some sports. And he obliges, our good friend Ari Temkin. Big 12 today on TuneIn Radio and other places. Ari, welcome. How are you, sir?
I'm great, man. And I'm super happy that you have really embraced this incredible gold medal that the U.S. won because I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's attention on it, but maybe not as much as there should be given, it's just the third gold medal in hockey in U.S. history. And, of course, the first, the same 1980. But, I mean, I watched Miracle with my kids Sunday night, was explaining the Cold War. I know there's no Cold War implications here, but beating Canada in hockey is a huge deal. So I'm glad you're leaning into it, OC.
Incredible. And showcasing the brotherhood and showcasing the unity and showcasing how much it means to these players that are professional athletes, but they're interrupting their pro season right now, putting it all on the line to represent their country, not because it brings them fame, not because it brings them fortune, but because it matters to them to wear the red, white, and blue and to bring a gold medal home. I think it's something we get so jaded in sports now, Ari, and we talk about money so often in sports right now. It's a joy to be able to say, look how much these guys care, not because it's for their contract, not because it's for their pro team, but because it's for their country. I was drinking all the patriotic Kool-Aid on Sunday morning, and I still am.
Yeah, well said, buddy. I mean, you're exactly right. With all the money and all of the lack of loyalty in sports, I mean, if you were to look at the top 5 players in the NHL right now, maybe one of them, Austin Matthews, would be on that list in terms of Americans, but everybody else is Canadian on that list. I mean, for the most part. So, it was, a huge upset from that standpoint. Look, there's really good players on that team, but I just mean like overall the 5-10 best players in hockey in the world are, there's only a handful of them that are American. The top 5, maybe Austin Matthews. So yeah, I mean, and there's the World Cup in soccer. Yeah, we have the Olympics in basketball, but even that feels like the care ebbs and flows. There's just nothing like that country pride. And, I'm sure you were watching. I was actually in Park City last year in February when we had the Four Nations Cup, and I was sitting at a bar in Park City with some friends watching as the U.S. and Canada had three brawls in 9 seconds of that match. So, it was just it was exciting in every way, and I think you very well pointed out just the pride and country that it feels like is lost in sports, and just loyalty and pride in your team, and competing for something larger than the name in the back of the jersey.
I'm very excited. We'll move on to Big 12 stuff and college hoops, I promise, but I'm very excited to see how the lore of this kind of grows in our country, because the last time we have something like this is that Miracle on Ice game. It was 46 years ago. We weren't alive during that time, and yet it's part of our awareness of American sports history, and I'm curious to see how this particular accomplishment grows in that regard for the generation of kids now, the generation of adults like you and I, and beyond, because hopefully it's not another 46 years before we win another one, but the fact that it was 46 years and we still reference that game and that story and the speech and all that stuff, I wonder what we'll get out of this team and this game that matches it.
Right. And look, I mean, obviously, the difference with the amateur players in 80 against, that great Russian hockey team that was all professionals and all the best players of the world, and the Cold War, and the fact that Russia, that they won gold in every Olympic before then. I mean, it's hard to sort of draw the parallel, but I think that there are some parallels there. And yeah, I mean, look, anytime you're competing in sports country to country and you're an underdog as the U.S., I think it resonates in a way, that maybe because we're so used to being the favorites in so many sports that we play. So to kind of embrace and take on that underdog role. And look, anytime we can beat Canada in anything, especially something that they love, like Americans, hockey's like way down the list of things that Americans care about. But in Canada, I mean, there were 40 million Canadians watching that. 90% of Canada was watching that. I was up at 7 o'clock in the morning. I know it was 6 o'clock your time. I don't know if you were up, but and I'm assuming you were, but I don't know how much your audience was up. But I do wonder, as we go further and further away from this, how big of a deal this will be, because it just doesn't seem on a Monday, where there wasn't that big of a deal in sports this weekend, where that was such a big thing to happen on Sunday morning. It just doesn't feel like it's being embraced enough as much as I would have liked it to. I mean, we didn't have a show this morning, which was that was a joke. It was whatever. It was a mistake, but I mean, I would have been in red, white, and blue. I would have had my face painted. I would have been going nuts this morning had I had it. In a hypothetical world, anything's possible, OC.
All right, let's talk a little Big 12 basketball. I want to start with BYU, big win against Iowa State. And, I've been kind of hard on BYU because it's not working, this experiment. I'm like, man, I don't have a lot of confidence that you're going to be able to drive far in this tournament after the Richie Saunders injury. And then A.J. DeBonce's like, you know what, I'm playing all 40 minutes of this game, and I'm going to carry my team against one of the best squads in this conference and maybe in the country. And obviously he was successful in that regard. How sustainable is that for BYU? There's not a ton of season left, but there's enough that I'm questioning, can he do it for 12 more games?
Yeah, this was a hell of a win for BYU, and very much in your face for the doubters like myself. And there's multiple layers to this. So let's just put the A.J. DeBonce stuff to the side for a second. We'll get back to that, okay? So, number one, BYU was 351st in bench scoring out of 363 teams, when Richie Saunders went down with his injury. So I think, number one, you point to that and be like, wow, yeah, this is the reason their season is over. What I think what I didn't realize is maybe, just maybe, because all three of those guys were so good and commanded the ball and so much attention and so much offense, that created an environment where those other guys couldn't contribute. And so now that they need those guys to contribute and they're being asked to contribute in a meaningful way, they stepped up. I mean, Kennard Davis was the second leading scorer for BYU. Like, that is huge if that is any semblance of sustainability. I know I mentioned in your show sort of that BYU has just had this lack of physicality. And, that at the end of the day is something I think that Kevin Young needs to reevaluate. Well, Keba K does not. I mean, he is physical. He does bring a defensive presence that's huge. And I think they also saw that from Kadeem Boop in a way that's like, man, if that's sustainable. So, like, just the bench scoring, the contributions from guys not named Rob Wright and A.J. DeBonce, I think were huge, especially because of that season-long trend that kind of showed that they really couldn't score aside from their big three. Now, all of a sudden, when guys are needed, maybe that's going to be a huge development for this team moving forward. Okay, now to the DeBonce stuff. DeBonce was phenomenal. I mean, he basically had a triple-double, 29, 10, and 9. And then, I mean, defensively, he was as good as we've seen him all year. I'm a KU alum. I'm a KU fan. And all this year, we've been talking so much about Darren Peterson. What we saw from DeBonce is what we've been waiting to see from Darren Peterson all year. If I'm an NBA GM, I'm watching what DeBonce is doing right now, and that is so much more meaningful to me than what Peterson's done all year. Because forget about the minute stuff, but like DeBonce was supposed to be a guy that could score from anywhere, could get to the rim at will, was a great distributor and a very plus defender. And the numbers in a season-long trend, what we've seen from Peterson is he's a microwave scorer, and that's about it. He's not really getting to the rim. The majority of his shots this season are from three, so he's not shooting up tight. He's not shooting close. He has 11 assists in 12 Big 12 games. 11. So he is not distributing the basketball. He is not defending at a high level. So all he's doing right now is being a microwave scorer. Meanwhile, DeBonce did exactly what we've been told Peterson is good at doing. He was a true three-level scorer, a true distributor, and a true defender. So I think big picture, is it sustainable for DeBonce? I mean, maybe not near triple-doubles in 40 minutes, but when you're doing that against elite competition and you get, this big-time, quad 1A win, I don't care if it's sustainable. I know that it at its core, at its peak, we've seen what it could possibly be. And I think both Texas Tech and BYU needed to reinvent themselves this weekend. And Texas Tech got K-State, reinvented themselves. But BYU did it against the Iowa State team, and I think carries a lot more credibility because it was against Iowa State. Albeit at home, but still, there's a lot of credibility I lend to the bench scoring, DeBonce basically doing everything needed for his team to win. And, look, for me, it definitely raises their ceiling in terms of their potential this season because we've seen it now. Before we hadn't seen it.
And that, for me, juxtaposed against another Kansas weekend where I fully admit I'm not fair to Darren Peterson anymore because I question everything based on his lack of availability. But AJ does that in 40 minutes, Peterson actually played against Cincinnati. He played 30-plus minutes, but he was bad. He was minus 20 on the game. He was 1 of 7 from 3 to some of the points that you just made. And these things don't happen in a vacuum, especially with respect to that NBA drafting process that's coming sooner than later. Like, if you're making those decisions and you're evaluating, I'm sure at some point they're like, I'm in person watching A.J. Debonsa today. Let me see what Darren Peterson's doing today. Oh, that doesn't look great, or vice versa. So I don't know how big of a problem it is for Kansas. I think that they've got a good team around him. I still think that they've got the capability to win, and it maybe makes some noise in both the Big 12 and NCAA tournaments. But I think it's becoming a big problem for Darren himself.
Yeah, and it'll be really interesting to see with Big Monday tonight and Houston and Kansas, with Peterson playing those quote-unquote heavy minutes. Will he play, heavy minutes tonight? Because last time we saw this, he did not play on the Big Monday following a Saturday where he played 32-plus minutes. And, yeah, I mean, I think there's multiple things at play here. From an NBA evaluation standpoint, like, you get to this part of the season and nobody's healthy, right? Like, you ask A.J. Debonsa man-to-man, like, he's not healthy right now. He's got tons of lingering maladies and soreness, and like, this is what happens when you get to the end of a season in any sport. All of the nicks and scrapes and bruises, they all add up over time. You don't get to this part of the season in any sport and not have anybody that's fighting through adversity just to play. Nobody's 100%. And I think, like, that's where the rubber meets the road here on Peterson. Like, he needs this perfect, this porridge is too hot, this porridge is too cold, this one's just right kind of situation in order for him to be, right on in playing time. And if I'm an NBA team, like, I know that if he's right, he's good, but is he able to fight through adversity? Is he able to fight through some of these things? Because I know that it's not as important for him to do that this year at Kansas or previously in high school because he wasn't asked to. But if I'm evaluating him in his totality, then I'm evaluating, like, I don't know his willingness to fight through and play through adversity because he hasn't shown a willingness to do so. Like, if I'm going to buy and believe that these injuries that he's had over the course of the season are, hampering his ability to play, either he should, one, completely shut it down or stop talking about how the injuries are lingering and just play through it like everybody else, because it's either one or the other. Either you should shut it down and not play, or you're just like everybody else at this part of the year that's all dealing with different scrapes and nicks and bruises and everything else that they deal with over the course of a demanding season that's very physical. So, look, I think Cincinnati was the more desperate team. They've been playing pretty good basketball. And then when you think about, a month ago, Cincinnati fans showing up to games with bags on their head, and now they go into Allen Fieldhouse and do something that very few teams have done before, get a win at KU. I mean, that's as impressive as it gets as a turnaround for Wes Miller, and they're now very much in the thick of the bubble race. So good on them. They were the more desperate team. They played like it. But I do think that there is a hangover with this team in terms of the will he or won't he. I just can't imagine this has a zero impact about the psyche and the effect of the psyche of that locker room. Knowing, is he going to be available? Is he going to play? Is he going to play both halves? Is he going to sit out in the end of the game? This will he or won't he has got to hang over the heads of these players and his teammates. So, I've been saying that all year. I said back in December that he needs to shut it down. He's doing far more damage to the team psyche than he's helping. And I know he's really skillful and extremely talented, but I'm a firm believer in the team, and the chemistry and the camaraderie matters way more than anything else. And at the end of the day, as a Kansas fan and alum who knows that this was a program built on the heels of the inventor of the game and Fog Allen and Wilt Chamberlain and some of the greats that ever play, this program is so much bigger than Darren Peterson, and that's not the way that he's treating it. And it's like we talked about with those 1980 Olympic teams. Like, who do you play for? What's the name on the front of the jersey? Peterson's playing for the name on the back of the jersey, and that's fine because that's his prerogative. But for me as a Kansas fan and alum, I'd rather go down with the guys that are playing for the name on the front of the jersey than the one that's playing for the name on the back.
Arizona's back on top with a big win of the standings for now in the conference. There's been plenty of movement. Not a ton of season left. Do you think the Wildcats can stay there the rest of the way?
Yeah, I mean, I think they all but wrapped it up. Now, look, anything can happen, but, going to Houston and getting a win, so now they're basically a game and a half in front of Houston, because Houston has 3 conference losses, Arizona with 2. And remember, Houston is trying to avoid 3 straight losses tonight at Allen Fieldhouse on Big Monday, where Bill Self is 40-0 all time. So something's got to give in that one. So I mean, I guess, any team with at least 4 losses is still in it. So Iowa State, Kansas, Texas Tech, Houston, but it's just a really, really tough road to climb. And I don't believe that Arizona's going to have many more than 2 losses. If they do, it'll be 3. To think that Arizona will lose twice again seems impossible for me. So, I do think that they pretty much wrapped it up in terms of their win at Houston on Saturday.
Ari, always appreciate your time. The USA Hawker sweater is in the mail, on the way. Let's go. Let's drive this thing forward.
You're the best, OC. Take care, brother. Be well.
Ari Temkin, friend of the program, Big 12 today on TuneIn Radio. And, yes, we are gold medalists in women's and men's hockey at the 2026 game. Hockey Town is now the entire country of the United States of America. If you live in Vancouver, I'm sorry. If you're in Montreal right now, we're happy to have you come over and watch hockey, and we can explain to you how hockey works down here south of the border, south of your border at least. Hot Lunch is coming next. Freddie Coleman at the start of hour number 2. Lots left to get to on the Sean O'Connell Show. It's ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Time for the Hot Lunch on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 792 on FM. This was the number 2 song on the charts in 1980, the last time Team USA won Olympic gold in hockey. And, James, I found what is actually Hockeytown, USA, all right? I figured it out. Not by myself, but because we have the internet. There's a little town in Minnesota called War Road, Minnesota. Population about 2,000 people. Brock Nelson, who is on the U.S. Olympic hockey team this year, he's from War Road, Minnesota. His great uncle and his grandfather were on the 1960 Olympic team that won U.S. hockey gold. His uncle was on the Miracle on Ice team in 1980, and he is a member of the 2026 gold medal U.S. hockey team. 3 generations, 1 family, 1 tiny Minnesota town, population of about 2,000 people. That is Hockeytown, USA, if anywhere is. The aromas here in the studio have just gotten a lot more enticing and a lot better. Mike from Burger Fusion is here in studio with us, and he brought with him some sort of...
I brought everything today.
Oh, my gosh. We have a feast on our hands today. It's a Monday edition of the Hot Lunch. Okay, the homemade chips, tallow fried like all the other fried items, I assume. We got more of the Havarti fried pickles. These things are absolutely incredible. Again, Burger Fusion at Trolley Square, just to the south, what is it? The southwest of the front doors of Whole Foods. Havarti fried pickles with the dipping sauce. Incredible. And this, you have to go to the YouTube. You have to find the YouTube. Okay, James, is this hitting the camera properly? Okay.
So that's the size of the burger challenge.
The burger challenge. Mike, get on that mic over here so we can hear you explain exactly what's going on. First of all, this thing smells incredible. And I'm like,
so that's actually our Velvet Smoke Show, the peanut butter and jelly burger.
Yeah.
That's the size of the burger challenge. The burger challenge is actually our bourbon barbecue burger.
All right.
But I wanted you to try this one, and I also needed to bring the burger of the week this week that you're getting the first one today right there.
Exclusive? An
exclusive for
ESPN
you.
700 exclusive burger of the week. What is the burger of the week?
So the burger of the week is a roasted garlic Parmesan burger with a reduced wine mustard sauce.
Wow.
It's good.
Who gives you the ideas? Do you just cook these things up in your head?
I don't sleep anymore. The sauce, I have to admit, is from one of my vendor reps who was in the culinary world for 20 years before he got into being a vendor. So I followed his recipe, added a little bit of horseradish because I wanted just a tiny bit more tang. And then the fries, you're going to see today, that's the amount of fries that go with our burger challenge.
All right.
But so I put them in that container, but you're going to see why I use the other container for delivery, because as soon as I closed that and brought it over here, they still taste great. They're just not as crispy as the ones I brought the other day because of the container.
I've been singing the praises of that container that allows the steam to escape. These ones are still in great shape, but like Mike said, not quite as crispy as the ones that come in the regular container. However, that regular container does not hold the burger. Is this a pound of fries?
It is. So the challenge is a 3.5 pound burger and then a pound of fries. I've had one guy do it in 27 minutes. So you get the burger free. You get, I'm going to come up with the Wall of Fame and then a T-shirt.
Nice.
If you don't do it, it's $50.
So try your luck if you're down for 4.5 pounds of delicious food in one sitting, and you got to do it in under 30 minutes, under 45 minutes, under an hour.
I had it at 45 or less. He said you need to change it to 30. So
that's like Usain Bolt being like, you got to make this race longer because it's too easy for me to win. 27 minutes for that kind of meal, man. Not everyone's going to be able to do that.
That's what I said. And when he came in, I'm like, you sure you can do this? Because he wasn't a very big guy, and he's like, I exercised for 2 hours today, and then I took my dog for a 2-hour walk, and I'm on performance enhancement drugs. I said, all right, you got a chance.
I want to know what the performance-enhancing drugs are for a burger challenge. because I could probably get I'm very anti-performance enhancing drugs in sports, but in order to take down a burger challenge, I'd probably compromise my principles a little bit. There's more stuff over there.
So these are the things that you haven't tried yet.
Okay.
So these are our little desserts, beignets.
Oh, yes.
We've got a beignet filled with cookie butter.
All right. So that speculoos, okay, beignets, about that big if you're looking at the YouTube.
We've got a beignet filled with hazelnut.
Okay.
A beignet filled with chocolate and caramel.
Ooh. Chocolate and caramel both?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll eat those.
And a beignet filled with raspberry.
Raspberry beignet filled.
And then if that's not sweet enough, we've got some chocolate and caramel dipping sauce.
This is amazing. What a feast. I should have
funny.
skipped breakfast this morning.
Yeah. I like desserts, obviously, coming from my background, but we don't have a lot of people that order dessert. I think they get pretty full on the food.
Yeah.
But, we have it there just in case. And second time in, I'd say order dessert first and then order your burgers.
Okay. Well, you're going to a Burger Fusion. You're going to want to let the burgers be the star of the show. But if I have not tried the desserts yet, but if the desserts are on the same tier as the attention to detail you pay with all this other stuff, they're going to be really good.
Yeah, the desserts are good. And the one thing I didn't bring because I was kind of in a hurry is the homemade bread pudding.
Yeah.
So I'll bring that next time.
All right. Beignets, bread pudding, homemade chips, fries, burgers that you can get anywhere from a normal burger size all the way to 3.5-pound monstrosity for the burger challenge. And normally it's the barbecue burger. You've heard me begging for this Velvet Smoke Show, so you made the burger challenge size version of it.
Right. I was gonna do the burger, the actual burger challenge, but then I came up with the new burger of the week yesterday, so I'm like, you gotta try that. So we just made the Velvet Smoke Show into the big one, and now you can share if you want, or you can eat it all.
James, I'm gonna need you to just filibuster for the next 40 minutes or so while I take down this feast. All right, play an old interview. You know what we should do? Just the 1980 Miracle on Ice game. Just play that back for everyone, since we're all high on hockey today.
Just the whole game. You're going to need all that time,
yeah.
I'm sure. He would not
complete with
he would not
intermission
pass
breaks.
the challenge in under 30 minutes.
I would not, but I would not. I would at least give it a try. We might have to do that. We might have to do that with bring some listeners down. All of us do the burger challenge together. Have a little station event. James, you think you could pull off this burger challenge? You're talking a lot of noise back there.
I don't know. That's a lot of burger there.
James,
You can do it, James.
James is a vegan. He doesn't.
Yeah.
I've got a black bean patty burger I can whip up for you.
There you go. I can't tell you. I mean, thank you is not the right word for a feast this large. I also know, working in a radio station, the vultures are going to start circling. They're going to start smelling. They're going to hear that we have beignets, and suddenly I'm going to get some knocks at the door. So I'm going to have to lock that bad boy.
Well, I did just get an email from DJ this morning that said I'm coming back in March. So,
all right,
now I got to come up with more stuff to bring in.
Well,
I brought
look,
everything.
Yeah, I mean, we will be your guinea pigs.
I love it.
If everything is as good as what you've brought so far, I'm just gonna trust you, and as long as it's not green beans, it's the only thing I won't eat. My parents made me eat too many of them when I was a kid. Canned green beans, frozen green beans. As an adult, that's where I put my foot down. Anything else, you can feed me, and I'll be down.
Did you ever do what my buddy did? He hated peas growing up, so he always sat by the heat register when they were on the floor. He would dump his peas in the heat register every time they had dinner.
I've actually talked to my parents about this since becoming an adult. I was such an honest young kid that I would not – I mean, the garbage can was right there. They would leave me at the table. They'd all go out about their business. My dad would go mow the lawn. My mom would go down, whatever. And my brother and sister would get to leave the table because they had finished their food. They'd be like, you sit there until your green beans are done. And I would sit there and choke them down instead of just scraping them into the garbage can because I was an honest kid. Or a dumb kid, or both. I think there was and they make fun of me now because why didn't you just throw them away if you hated them so bad? Well, I thought I was going to get in trouble. I always believed my parents could see everything I did, even when they weren't in the room. What a dumb child I was.
That's funny.
Mike, thanks so much.
No, thank you. It's been awesome coming in, and I appreciate you guys, the sport. So
I promise that we enjoy it more than you do, you coming in and bringing this incredible food. Burger Fusion, if you haven't checked it out yet, do it this week. We've got plenty of games. We've got plenty of things you're going to want to just leave the cooking to somebody else one of these nights. Go down to Burger Fusion at Trolley Square. Grab anything on the menu because it's all good. And maybe if the kids are being extra good, grab them some dessert, some of these beignets.
absolutely. And it's not just the cooking. We do the cleanup, too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the worst part.
That is half the battle, right?
Yeah.
When you make that delicious dinner, if you got little kids, they only eat half of it. So now you got to decide whether am I going to eat half chewed, half touched chicken nuggets myself, or am I going to throw those in the dog's bowl, right? And then you got to clean up. Not if you go to Burger Fusion. Let Mike and company take care of dinner for you one of the nights this week, 2 of the nights this week, 3 of the nights this week, whatever.
Awesome. Yeah, we'd love to have you.
Tell them OC sent you. Wow, what a hot lunch. I'm going to spend the next several minutes trying to eat some of this. We got Freddie Coleman joining us in our next segment. Plenty left to get to on the Sean O'Connell Show. ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Little Olivia Newton-John, top 5 on the 1980 charts. We're bringing back 1980 because Team USA with a gold medal this weekend in hockey in the Olympics, closing out the 2026 Winter Games. Just an incredible story, incredible team, a lot of fun to cover, a lot of fun to watch. And 1980 was the last time Team USA has been at the top of the hockey world. We're playing you some of the music. You know what's really interesting? The number one cartoon on television back then was He-Man, Masters of the Universe. There's a He-Man movie coming out in 2026. Did you know that? So we're bringing back 1980. One of the top films of 1980 was The Empire Strikes Back. I'm a big Star Wars guy. A lot of people, that's their favorite Star Wars movie, right? Maybe that's the best, most complete of the entire Star Wars saga that we have on film. Guess what else is coming out this year? Another Star Wars movie. The Mandalorian and Grogu, which is, of course, a spinoff from the Mandalorian Disney Plus series. So 1980 had a lot of really good things that maybe we're bringing back. If you're Oldsmobile right now, you should be firing up the old factory and manufacturing as many of the old Cutlass and Cutlass Supreme as you can. That was the number one selling vehicle in 1980, the Oldsmobile Cutlass. So let's bring it all back, baby. 1980, the glory days of U.S. hockey, and now we're back in them in 2026 with a gold medal. Freddie Coleman's going to join us here in a few minutes on the Sean O'Connell Show. Lots to talk about with Freddie, who obviously does an incredible job on ESPN Radio. He's been doing it now for 22 years. In this business, that kind of sustainability at any place is impressive. But man, good for Freddie Coleman. I think Freddie's back. Is Freddie back on the East Coast, James? There was like 2 feet of snow dumped on the New York metro area recently. Connecticut, those places are just under a winter storm.
I think he's a Bristol guy. I think he's up at the headquarters there.
All right.
For ESPN.
Well, and he's probably not driving home. We're probably getting him from like a storage closet.
Yeah. Did you hear Dan Patrick and Dan Itz talking about they're living out of a hotel until the storm's over?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
They also were talking about the definition of a blizzard. Did you hear that part of the show?
Doesn't have anything to do with the amount of snow.
Snow accumulation is not actually what it is. It's the wind conditions.
It's like a snowstorm that is almost a hurricane, and that's a blizzard. Is that what we're talking about?
It's like a windy snowstorm.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I kind of knew that, but also I thought a blizzard, you had to get like 2-3 feet of snow for it to be a blizzard.
The wind was howling before our snowstorms last week. That had to have been close to blizzard.
Before the snow started and we were getting those gale force winds.
Yeah.
So you remember, what was it, 2019, 2020, when everyone's trees were blown down?
Yeah, the wind hurricane.
That was the other night before the snowstorm came in. My house was rattling. That was the most wind I have felt at my house since the previous windstorm that decimated half of the trees in Salt Lake City. So I was worried that we were going to get some stuff flying around the neighborhood. It happened to be garbage night on my street. You know the kind of panic you feel as an old dad when a windstorm starts kicking up and your trash cans are not tucked safely behind your house. They're out at the curb, lonely. And the way that we always overstuff our trash cans, it's never like a flush all the way down type lid. There's always like kind of the loose tooth situation going on. You can see visually there's that one peak of the bag that you overstuffed to the top. That thing's sitting out on the curb in 70-mile-an-hour winds. You know what I'm thinking? I'm going to have to go clean my trash is going to be scattered up and down the street, all of my neighbors' yards, and I'm going to have to go pick it up. Thankfully, the trash can was heavy enough from all of our refuse that it stayed put.
Yeah, thankfully, the trash stayed in the can and we got water. Thankfully, both of those things happened. We need more water, though, OC.
Yeah, I tell you.
We need it.
James, I know.
I'm thinking about it constantly.
Last
over here.
week, I took the girls sledding. We were going. It was just, it was a dumping down. And today it's 50 degrees and it's melting. And I'm just like, well, we need more. We need a couple more of these winter storms. I'm looking at the snow report. I'm looking at the precipitation numbers, and it's not good. We're in the red, in the orange in a lot of places. I need to get those things at least up into the yellow and green.
Yep, looking at the old water levels in the big lake over here.
Yeah,
we need several more inches. Feet, I guess, is what it's measured in. Several more feet. Several more inches of precipitation, feet of water level.
On Sunday, I was driving around. I was listening to the ESPN radio that was on because, of course, you only keep it on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. And I was listening to the conversations and the way that the particular shows were trying to frame this win, this U.S. Olympic hockey gold win for conversation, right? And we do this thing in sports media all the time where you want to do superlatives and you want to do comparatives and you want to say, is this better? Is this cooler? Is this bigger? Is this as big as? Is this the biggest since? And, of course, the nearest reference point, because we have not been the nation's greatest hockey or the world's greatest hockey nation in 46 years, the nearest reference point was that Miracle on Ice game. And there's this tendency where you want to compare the two things. And one of the things I love so much about this game and this gold medal tournament and this gold medal win for both the men's and the women's team was that it's not really comparable. Like the context is so wildly different and thankfully is not centered around like actual dangerous geopolitical tension, not on the level of the Cold War at least. And the fact that it's a much more apples-to-apples scenario that we're talking about right now in the hockey world where, Team USA, it's great to be the underdog and to win the underdog story and to be a miracle team. And do you believe in miracles? That's maybe the best, most iconic broadcasting call in the history of sports. And it came from a situation where you were not supposed to win. Nobody believed you could win. And it's that David versus Goliath thing that we are all, there's something in the human psyche that you want to cheer for David against Goliath. You want for the improbable outcome to come to pass so you can say, I was there when, I remembered this. Wow, isn't that incredible what these kids did and this, little engine that could. So I don't want to compare them too directly because, again, it's two apples and oranges. What I like about this one is that I want Team USA hockey, and more specifically hockey as we have come to embrace it in Salt Lake City, now having our own club. I want it to be an apples-to-apples thing when we get to American NHL players and Canadian NHL players. When it comes to the star talent that's being produced and deployed across our professional league and on our Mammoth roster, I would like for the Americans to be in the same conversations as the Canadian greats. I would like that apples-to-apples conversation to persist. The gap between the best American basketball players and the best basketball players from the rest of the world, including from Canada, has shrunk to disappearing. It is either not there at all or, dare I say it, with a trembling voice, has the world passed us up from an individual star standpoint. The best players in the NBA right now, the very, very, very best players in the NBA right now, if we take the top 10, how many of them are American?
5 or 6. Maybe between 3 and 6.
Which means between 3 and 6 are, or 3 and 7 are, between 4 and 7.
Yeah.
If I get my math right. Between 4 and 7 are international players.
It's about half or a little more than half. Absolutely. And the thing here is U.S. is still going to win more than likely going to win gold in the Olympics for next cycle and maybe in the next one after that, because Canada has a lot of NBA players, but they don't have the all-stars, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jamal Murray notwithstanding, that Team USA has. It's the world collectively that has probably passed the U.S. If you could just put all of them as under one flag, like that team might be able to beat Team USA in basketball, but like Team USA is likely not going to lose to any one nation in basketball.
Which, to be fair, if we're going to make a direct comparison in hockey, if you took the best Americans and the best Finns and the best Swedes and the best Germans,
the French,
you're beating Canada.
You're talking hockey, yeah.
You're going to beat Canada. If it's Canada versus the world, you are always going to beat Canada. Like, you could have done that 10 or 15 or 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But now to have one nation on par with what Canada is from a hockey standpoint, we don't have that yet in basketball. And it is the closest. I mean, France has its weird little presence right now. I don't know how sustainable that is. I don't know how long that's going to last. But Serbia, you can't take a Serbian team against Team USA and have them win, even if the best player in the world is Serbian. You can't take a Slovenian team. I mean, we've seen this in the Olympics, right? We know what it looks like. Is Canada the closest in basketball from an overall talent perspective? Is Canada, if you take Canada, France, we got a Summer Olympics coming.
Yeah, I think Canada has 2 or 3 more NBA players, or at least in this past Olympics in Paris. They had 11 out of their 12 players were NBA players. France has probably more stars, headlined by, of course, Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah.
So I might say France is the biggest threat to beating Team USA, but Canada is probably the next biggest one. And Serbia will probably always get to the semifinals, if not medal, because they got Jokic.
They have Jokic, and the rest of their team is like 6'8" plus.
Yeah,
and they're skilled, and they're professional players.
They've got
not all of them are in the NBA.
They've got 2 NBA players, at least in the Paris Olympics. It was Bogdanovic and Nikola Jokic, and then the rest of the guys just they didn't turn the ball over. They hit an open shot like that. That's all you really need to do when you have Nikola Jokic on your team. So Serbia is going to always hit above their weight because they have the best player in the world, and he's the best player in the world that is pass happy, as Gordy Chiesa likes to say. So that one's always going to be tough. We were live on the air when they had like a 20-point lead on Team USA in the semifinals of the Paris Olympics, and it put a huge scare in all of us. I mean, they're capable, but I would say talent-wise, they're definitely behind France and Canada.
And look, you don't have to do this with baseball. You don't have to do this with other sports. The point stands that it's a meaningful thing from a grassroots, a talent development, a drive your dreams perspective that now Team USA gets to raise a flag and play the anthem at the Olympics and say, we are, for the next 4 years, we have the bragging rights as the hockey nation on planet Earth, which is something that it's only happened 3 times in our history. And the last couple of times that it happened in what people thought were kind of flukish scenarios, in these crazy underdog scenarios. And those are better stories. Those are more dramatic. But from a health of the sport, health of the NHL, health of our Utah Mammoth, it's probably better that you have American sports, American stars rising in a sport that becomes more and more American, or that we can make more and more American. Because, again, this is a selfish pursuit. I want for us to continue to grow as a hockey town in Salt Lake City. I want for if I had my druthers, it would go like this. Utah football number 1, NFL football number 2, Utah Utes basketball number 3, Mammoth number 4, everything else underneath. And right now it's not quite there. Utah Utes basketball is not where it needs to be, right? Utah football, I think, is in the number one spot, at least on this station. And college football in general, wherever you go, is kind of the number one show right now in the state of Utah. The NFL is awesome, but I would be 100% okay with our own local interest driving higher because the Utah Mammoth, we have a real team. We're not going to get an NFL team anytime soon. If the Utah Mammoth were good enough to take spot number 2, and maybe we get a homegrown player or two in the next 10, 15 years playing for the Utah Mammoth, we get more of these American guys. And I have no problem, by the way, with all the Canadians and the Finns and the whomevers. Like, I'm really happy to see Olimata win a bronze medal in the Olympics. I know that, he was pretty emotional about that. He talked about how much it means to him. It's cool to see that.
Shout out to Lowry, too.
But
he's probably thrilled for it.
It's going to be different, right? When we get to see Clayton Keller, he's got the C on his sweater, the C on his chest, and he's also got a gold medal. If that can be a more regular occurrence, if like Canada claws it back in the next Olympics, and then in Salt Lake City, Team USA is the favorite going into the Olympic tournament on our home ice, and I don't mean American home ice, I mean like our state's home ice, with who knows playing for this team
in our city at the Delta Center. I doubt that now that it's an NHL arena and by that time it'll be 6 years of the full renovation has been done to make it a true multi-purpose arena for both NBA and NHL. Like they're not putting Olympic hockey, all due respect to the Maverick Center, and they're gonna do a lot of renovations there too. They're not putting like it was in 2002. The hockey's not going out to the Maverick Center. It's going to be downtown at the Delta Center. That'll be awesome.
Ryan Smith was tweeting about this weekend. Imagine what that's going to be like when the Delta Center is hosting Team USA hockey, probably with at least one Mammoth player on that roster, hopefully more than one. I mean, Logan Cooley should be on that roster. Dylan Gunther.
Who was on the Worlds with Clayton Keller? With Cooley? Cooley was there, right? Okay,
Dylan Gunther will be playing for Team Canada, right? I mean, like,
you got to think
these are young guys right now.
Yeah, you got to think that Cooley and Keller will be both on Team USA since they were on the Worlds team and played huge roles there. Cooley obviously not quite at the level to play with the team this year, and he's hurt.
The only thing is Keller will be like 36 then.
Will he be the Sidney Crosby elder statesman guy
Maybe.
wearing the C? Maybe.
Which again, if we want to be apples to apples, because Clayton Keller, like Sid the Kid, was great from the moment he hit NHL ice, right?
Well, he was a prodigy. He was a LeBron James of hockey.
Like Macklin Celebrini is going to be. Well, he'll still be in his 20s in those Olympics, so he's not going to be a direct analogy to
but he's similar, tons of hype coming up as a juniors guy in college and whatever, and then a pretty instant star in the NHL.
So Clayton Keller's
Olympics.
Career has not been analogous to Sidney Crosby's yet. If he can continue to thrive, and if this team can continue to thrive, would we see a 37-year-old Clayton Keller skating on Delta Center ice in the Olympics? And by the way, would whoever is selecting Team USA, if his play justifies it, would they be like, no, we don't want Keller to be playing on home ice? I mean, it would be, again, these are the stories that you like to see come out of this stuff. And now it's a possibility, a more realistic possibility than it was before this team got a golden goal a couple minutes into overtime against Team Canada that has 5 of the best 8 players on the planet skating for them. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful game. If you didn't get to watch it, go watch the whole thing. If you
it's on Peacock. That's the great thing about the new streaming service. If you got Peacock, you don't even have to have had recorded it on your cable service. You can find it on Peacock.
Can you imagine what it was like in 1980, the last time Team USA won a gold medal in hockey? If you didn't watch because nobody really watched it live, right? So if you didn't watch the tape delay, how hard it was to watch the game.
You would have.
People are just like, did you record this on your VCR?
Yeah.
And your neighbor's just like, no, what are you talking about?
And they didn't really do the replay at 2 a.m. like we do now.
No.
They didn't really do that back then. So
we need to get some older folks. We need to ask them how hard it was to watch the game itself, knowing that like you would want, and the hype was building, and the story was out there. Now you could just turn on your TV and you can go find the app and you can play this game. You can watch it today, tomorrow, the next day, the next day, the next day. You can watch this more times than anyone who's ever seen the Miracle on Ice has watched that game ever. Back in the day, I want to know how hard it really was to find it. You know what? Remind me to ask Gordy that.
Yes. We'll have Gordy on tomorrow as we do every Tuesday. Yeah, that's going to have to be a Gordy question. And Bill Riley will be on the show, not as old as Gordy. Let's make that clear.
Yeah, Bill in 1980 was like
he was like 9 or 10. He has talked about when he had his show in this same time slot for as long as he had. He talked about that almost every year around this time because it was part of his iconic Open, the Al Michaels Do You Believe in Miracles call. It's one of Bill Riley's favorite sports events, so he remembers watching it on tape delay. He's old enough to remember that. So we'll have him on this week as we do on Fridays. So those are a couple of guys that we ought to be able to ask.
I promise there's other things we're going to talk about on the show today, but wow, what a significant moment, not only in sports, in American culture, and especially given the tension and the political situation and things like that, this cool, even if it only lasted while the television was on, this cool unifying thing from USA men's hockey and the women before them.
Yeah, I do have to air kind of a premature grievance for my lovely wife. She's driving around. She's going out to get groceries after the game's over. I'm at home hanging out with the boy, and she's got it on the station when she turns on the car, and she's like, "Okay, how come every time they talk about this game, they're saying we haven't won a gold in 46 years in hockey. We won 2 days ago." They weren't saying men's hockey.
Don't do that. They're different things. They're apples and oranges.
Well, but
and
I am kind of with her.
Pool,
you probably should say men's hockey if you're gonna.
And the talent pools are like, it's not a outside the realm of possibility thing with the women. Like our women's hockey program has been near the top or at the top of the world since its inception, basically.
Yeah, but
the men, it's not that way.
You probably still, but she's not arguing it's the same magnitude. She's saying like maybe say men's hockey if you're saying that.
Yeah, but that's not practical, and we're not going to do the thing. We're just like the champions in the NBA, not the WNBA. We're not doing that. We know, and there's nothing wrong with it. We know that right now men's sports dominate the United States of America, and that the women's sports thing is on the rise, and that's a great thing. It's a wonderful thing, but it's not going to take over. Like tennis is up there, soccer is up there, and those two things, like, great, wonderful, spectacular. In the sport that I love so much, in MMA, when there's more equality between the genders in MMA than there is in any other sport, any other professional sport. And that's something that I think is good. You won't find the top billing in basketball ever go to the women. In hockey, it'll never go to the women. In MMA, it does. But we're not going to get bogged down in the particulars of that.
I think I agree, though. Like, let's just not forget.
No one's forgetting
the women's side.
No one's forgetting the women's side. You can't say, well, what about when
I don't
when
know
the
if you
whole
say
country,
no one is.
When the whole
I
country
think there's
is
some that did.
When the whole country is celebrating the men accomplishing what they accomplished, you don't say, well, why aren't you talking about what about the women? Like, yeah, well, what about the skiers? What about the figure skaters? It's a bigger deal. It's hockey. And it happened yesterday. Not 3 days ago.
No, but I don't think it's too much to ask to say when you say you haven't won in 46 years in hockey to say you haven't won in 46 years in men's hockey. I don't think it's too much to say to add one more word.
You could do that on your show, James.
Okay.
Because
I will.
When we're doing that and being like, well, make sure you don't forget it. I mean, it's like you're asking everyone to maintain their level of political correctness all the time, and it's just not conducive to enjoyment for people. If you have to delineate every well, we know we're talking about Team USA, and by the way, we said many times on the show today, the men and the women both won golds, and they both did it against Canada, and they both did it 2-1, and they both did it in overtime. We're celebrating all of it, but it is a greater magnitude, a greater conversation point on the men's side, and anyone who disputes that is just not living in the reality of sports. The Daily Dump is next on the Sean O'Connell Show. It's ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. All of those warm fuzzies I was giving you about Team USA beating Canada in not one but 2 gold medal games in hockey this past weekend, that all goes out the window now because we're getting back into how American sports really is these days. I have been following the Charles Bediako saga at the University of Alabama's basketball team closer than anyone in Salt Lake City has a right to. So if you need a refresher, this is a young man who was playing professional basketball in the NBA. Did not play actual NBA minutes, but a guy who got drafted and was with the Detroit Pistons and in their G League. And then he said, no, I want to come back and I want to play college basketball. And Alabama was like, okay, cool. We'd love to have you. And the judge in Alabama who was on his case happened to be an Alabama Crimson Tide booster, so was greasing the wheels and making this happen easily. And then everyone in the world got wise and was just like, there's a conflict of interest there. Justice will not be done if this person who only cares about Alabama basketball is the one deciding the legality of this process. So the judge had to recuse himself, and the new authorities were just like, nope, sorry, Charles, you cannot play. He was denied a preliminary injunction against the NCAA. He is not eligible to play at Alabama anymore this season. He's not giving up the fight. Rather than just saying, okay, fine, I'll go back to the G League. I'll try to play overseas for a while and see if I can work my way back into NBA circles. He is now going to the Alabama Supreme Court. My kids do this to me sometimes, right? We've all done this at some point. Hey, can I do this? No, you can't. Why not? Because I said so. But I want to. Too bad. No candy. And instead of taking the no, they wait like 6 minutes. You go downstairs to clean something up. You go outside to see what the dog's doing. You come back in, and you catch the kid. Mom, can I have this piece of candy? Hey, no. You don't just go to a different authority after you're told no. And that is very much something we do in the United States of America, and that's what Charles Bediako is doing at Alabama. Stop it. Just go play pro basketball. You decided to go pro early. Go live with the consequences of that. You're a good player. Maybe you have to spend some time in Morocco playing pro basketball. Maybe you got to go to New Zealand. All right, expand your horizons. Go make a little bit of money. Get yourself back on the NBA's radar. Stop with the college basketball after pro basketball stuff. We don't need to see it. We don't want to see it. I'm done with it. So there's that. Another question I have that is somewhat related to the hockey team. Well, it's very directly related to the hockey team. When you lose teeth in a hockey game, are you traveling, like closing ceremonies, flying back from Italy, all that stuff? Are you doing that with broken teeth? Or are you going to the team dentist and having them do like a temporary, a full-time replacement, a full workup, a minor workup? We're going to have to get some type of insight on this. Maybe we'll have Tom Callahan. He would know. Adrian Denny probably knows. But I'm curious because I have told you many, many times, I'm the biggest baby on the planet when it comes to specifically mouth pain in the mouth. If you tell me, like, all right, go back out and skate and help us win a gold medal with broken teeth, I'm going to do it. But then if you're like, also go through the celebration and the closing ceremonies and the flight back home with broken teeth, I'm going to be like, absolutely not. I am crying because of that nerve sensitivity in your teeth. I will not do this. I want to know the timeline on getting those teeth fixed. Because hockey players just do it. They just casually are like, whatever. I broke my teeth. No big deal. It's an insane thing. We touched on this with Ari Temkin. The Darren Peterson saga continues with Kansas, now I got to be fair to the kid. He didn't remove himself from the game. He didn't bench himself at halftime. He just had a really, really bad game for Kansas. And the ability to extricate inconsistency in someone's play from the fact that they're inconsistently available would be impossible for me to do. I don't know where this is handled, how this is handled by Bill Self in Kansas, and I know that I'm getting to a point where I'm probably overly obsessive about this Kansas kid who we're not going to care about 6 months from now. But it is Big 12 basketball, and he is someone who is allegedly shoulder to shoulder, head to head with A.J. DeBonsa and Cam Boozer and some of these guys for being maybe the top picks in the nation in this upcoming NBA draft. And obviously the Utah Jazz are in that conversation. And I keep looking at this guy, and I'm like, all right, well, it's cool that he's available today. But when a guy's available and inconsistent or available and not good, how do you then say, well, that has nothing to do with the fact that he took himself out of games and he's taken half the minutes available to him this year to improve and be more consistent? It's just the opposite of a positive team culture. And it's something that seems to be flirted with and then kind of like talked around and then talked directly about. And now everyone just openly questions it, and we're getting zero real response from Darren Peterson on it. None. Like, supposedly, I mean, if this was Jimmer Fredette back in the day, if this was Zion Williamson, if this was Kyrie, if this was any of these guys, really good college basketball players who have come through and hoped for good things in the NBA, and they were just like, yeah, I'm not going to play that much, we would be like, what is happening? Give us a real reason. Give us a better explanation on this. And Kansas shields a freshman from being available to the media. And it's a strange, backward, weird circumstance. Anyway. Daily Dump is brought to you today and every day by our friends over at Valley Plumbing. Plumbing, heating, and air now. The truck with the duck can take care of anything you've got going on with your water heater, your furnace, anything that's in that furnace room, your water softener. They've got you covered there. Maybe you're like, well, it's 50 degrees again. A couple weeks from now, we're going to need to turn on our air conditioner. I don't know if that thing's in good shape. Valley Plumbing, Heating, and Air will hook you up.
Did you see this, OC? UVU is in court right now seeking a temporary restraining order in order for right now, this week is the track and field WAC tournament.
The hearing is live right now.
It's going on right now. Our guy, Bryce Larson, at Larson Sports on Twitter, is live tweeting the hearing. So check that out. They are both legal teams, Utah Valley University and the WAC. They've given their arguments. I think they're close to deliberating. The judge is close to figuring out what they want to do here. But this temporary restraining order, I've been talking a lot with Bryce the last few days about this to get a good sense of what's going on. And we're going to get Bryce on the show tomorrow, by the way, to talk about this, OC. But the temporary restraining order would give them 2 weeks. So that basically says you can't restrict us from playing postseason basketball or postseason sports in the WAC for 2 weeks. And then on Friday, there's a different hearing seeking a preliminary injunction, which would basically say for a lot longer period, you cannot enforce what you're trying to enforce with this, what the WAC's trying to enforce here by banning them from the postseason. So track and field, the track WAC championships are, I believe, Friday. So they're going, okay, we need this TRO so that our first winter sports postseason that our teams can participate. And then on Friday, we need to do this in order for basketball and baseball and other sports to be able to participate in the WAC tournaments and WAC championships. So big week for UVU in regards to their the lawsuit and their right now current postseason ban from the WAC. And if you want to follow along, at Larson Sports on Twitter.
Thanks a lot, Conference Realignment. The Alex Jensen Coaches Show is today at 6 p.m., Slackwater, Salt Lake City, right here on your home of the Utes. We all saw you put it in your update, actually. Lindsey Vaughn has surgery on her leg. Compartment syndrome averted. That can cause problems that, I guess, makes your leg gangrenous and then could potentially have to lead to an amputation, which would be obviously devastating for someone who's been an elite-level athlete their whole life. It would be devastating for anyone, but especially someone who's been an elite-level athlete their whole life. And you know the name of the surgeon who did this operation on Lindsey Vaughn?
Is it Dr. Elatrosh?
It's not. It's Dr. Tom Hackett.
Tom Hackett. Shout out.
I had not been made aware that Tom Hackett was now a surgeon, but
Tom, tell us about Lindsey Vaughn's surgery. Give us a call.
Yeah. Tom, tell us how the surgery went, if you don't mind.
Tom can hack it in the surgery, in the operating room, apparently. That's amazing.
Different Tom Hackett, obviously, but
it'd be great if this Tom Hackett is also Australian.
This one is scary. I don't want to I want to make sure that my tone is correct for this next, because we've seen what's happening on the news in Mexico as of late. And if you have friends or family members who are trapped right now in Mexico or having a hard time getting where they need to be, man, genuinely, our thoughts and prayers are with them and a safe outcome for everybody. The Mexican army apparently struck against a cartel and allegedly killed the leader of said cartel, and now there's a power vacuum and riots and insanity and a bunch of craziness going on. And it's always interesting to know how that is going to affect sport. And the Mexican League has postponed games. Querétaro and Juárez FC and Chivas and America, not United States of America, Chivas versus America, the club, in their women's league, those have been postponed. Some lower division games were called off completely. And probably more interesting from the international perspective, there's supposed to be a Mexican national team friendly against Iceland on Wednesday. So far, no word on whether or not the Mexican Soccer Federation is going to allow that thing to continue, but there's like some serious, scary unrest going on right now in several states all across the country because of this drug lord El Mencho being killed.
Yeah, El Mencho, the nickname for, and I'm not going to pretend I know how to pronounce his full actual name there.
His name is Ruben.
Well, with the first name, yes.
Ruben.
I got Ruben.
Ruben Oseguera Cervantes.
Yeah, but El Mencho, yes. The other thing to keep in mind here is we are now less than 4 months away from the North American World Cup, and you would think that's enough time. You would hope that that's enough time to get some order restored in Mexico here and safety first and foremost in Mexico, in order for Guadalajara is one of the host sites for the 2026 World Cup. So you'd hope that that's enough time, but you just don't know. Like that. So the World Cup, the Mexican games in the World Cup might be in jeopardy as well here. That, of course, starts mid-June. So something to watch there for sure.
Let's see. It'll be the June games: South Korea, Mexico, Spain, Uruguay, Colombia. Also all set to play in Mexico for those pool play games.
I love that we, on the lighter side of this, you just mentioned that list of nations, and we talked about with the Canadian national team, with unfortunately Jordan Binnington being one of these things is not like the other among the rest of the start. South Korea.
It's like Spanish-speaking, 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 South Korea.
It's like it feels so random.
It is.
And like you wouldn't, you don't put Canada or the United States, one of the other North American or Central or South American, you South Korea. There you go.
I would love to know, like, I'd love to get somebody from the Colombian Federation on and just be like, are you guys happy that you're going to Mexico, or would you rather have gone somewhere a little bit more exotic? Like, would you rather be played in Vancouver, BC or whatever? And they're just like, well, I mean, Mexico's probably a lot like Colombia, you know? I've never been to Colombia, so I don't know if that's true. My own ignorant sense. So, yeah, we're supposed to do a PFL event this year in Mexico City, so that's not till August. Like you said, should be enough time to get things settled down, but it's not like the narco-political situation in Mexico is ever all that stable. I think, by the way, I just coined a new phrase. I don't know that anyone's ever used narco-political.
Narco-political, yeah.
Because it's not really geopolitical, right? It's like, but it's the cartels, narcos, political. It's all intertwined down there.
It's definitely got its own political angle to this.
Yes,
in its own way, for sure. I love that, narco-political.
I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it from now on. All right, Isaac Shade's going to join us from Locked On College Basketball. We'll double up here. Before we do, I want to remind you, like I do every week, that your windows are perhaps the most important part of your house when it comes to energy efficiency and the savings or the expenditure on those heating and cooling bills. You don't lose a lot of heat through your walls. You don't lose a lot of heat even through your roof. You'll lose some maybe through your doors, but you especially are going to lose heat or cool air through inefficient older windows. If you're living in an older home, if you're like me, you're up in the avenues, if you're still dealing with original construction, a lot of that is aluminum frames or old steel frames, thin single-pane glass. I'm telling you, you're overspending on your energy bills. Now, you want to reduce those energy bills. What's the best way you can do it? Well, you can call Advanced Windows, 801-850-9100. You can call them. You can tell them, hey, I just want a bid. I don't know if I'm ready. I don't have a ton of cash right now. Just come measure my windows and see what it's going to cost me. Well, $2,500 off 10 windows or more, and they have financing options. So it doesn't have to all come out of pocket at the same time. The best part of this is, with the financing options and depending on the size of your job, you might get into a situation where your energy savings and the payments you have to make on the windows kind of balance one another out. So you're almost getting those new windows for free. On top of that, they add to the value of your home significantly, the resale value, the curb appeal. All of it is improved with the help of Advanced Window Products, a company you can trust, run by people that you know, people that you trust, and they're going to take care of that for the life of your home. Somebody cracks a window unexpectedly, no problem. It's covered under the warranty. For whatever reason, something goes wrong, a little expansion, contraction of the house, maybe you're doing something else, and that messes with the alignment of the window, no problem. It's covered under the warranty, and you don't have to fight it out with, no, that was a sales thing. No, that was an installation thing. No, that's a warranty from the manufacturer. Guess what? They're all the same at Advanced Windows. They build them, install them, take care of them right here in Salt Lake City. 801-850-9100 or advancedwindows.com. Isaac Shade to talk some college hoops next on the Sean O'Connell Show. It's ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Little Michael Jackson rock with you. 1980 Billboard top of the charts. That's what we're going with today. This was a top 10 song for the year of 1980. Looks like it was number one January 19th, 26th, February 2nd, February 9th. Michael Jackson, rock with you. Casey and the Sunshine Band had number ones during that time. Oh, I didn't know this. Escape, the Pina Colada song, if you like pina coladas, that was number one for a single week in 1980. There you go. Obviously, we're throwing it back to 1980 because of the gold medal performance by USA men's hockey this past weekend. First time in 46 years that Team USA was able to dethrone the top of the top of the top. In this case, that was Canada, who now is relegated to, on the men's and women's side, second place. And you're America's hat, okay? You have to give us the Toronto Raptors because that's a cool logo. We're taking that Space Needle you've got. I want all the maple syrup in the country. Justin Bieber, he belongs to us now. He's Canadian, right? We get it all. Sorry, Canada.
Robin Sparkles is ours, too.
What's that?
You know How I Met Your Mother guy?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Haven't seen
Shout
it.
out to that's our listeners who love How I Met Your Mother will love that one.
Okay. All right. You know, let's see. We don't have, I think.
Go to the mall, OC.
I don't think we have very many polar bears. Like only Alaska has polar bears and only way, way up there. So you got to give us the rest of the polar bears.
Yeah, they got to have a bunch of polar bears in the Yukon and Northwest Territories then, too.
Yeah, yeah. They produce 71% of the world's maple syrup supply.
Give us the Grey Cup, too. We'll put it in the storage shed, but
I don't know how many.
Give us the Grey Cup.
I don't know how many Tim Hortons there are in the United States. I don't know if we need another Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts type thing.
There's got to be some in the Buffalo area because if you watch Buffalo Bills games, they have the Tim Hortons logo on the stadium, in the stadium. So there's got to be some there, unless they're just like, no, they're only just across the border in Canada, but we're sponsoring the Bills anyway.
So I just Googled best things from Canada to see what else we want to take. Maple syrup is number one. Poutine is number two.
Yeah, poutine.
Poutine's good. I really like cheese curds, fries, and gravy. Originated in Quebec. They sit in Nanaimo bars. I don't know what those are, but a 3-layer chocolate, custard, and coconut dessert. I'm down with all three of those things individually. I especially like coconut, so the three put together sounds great. Butter tarts. I've been to Canada a lot. I don't think I've ever been offered a butter tart. Small pastry shells filled with a mixture of butter, sugar, and egg. Montreal-style bagels. I've had these. They're denser and sweeter than New York bagels.
Oh, okay.
I got tattooed up in Canada, and there was a Montreal-style bagel shop. They also have like something called Montreal smoked meat that is just, as far as I can tell, they just like to call things Canadian. It's just like ham, but it's like this is Montreal-style smoked meat.
It's not Canadian bacon.
It's like a really,
but it is ham.
It's like smoked ham, but really thin sliced. I was like,
Okay.
guys, you can't.
It's just smoked ham.
You can't claim things and call them like your own style when it's basically it's like, oh, this is American style pizza. Oh, really? What's the difference? Well, we have bread with cheese and sauce. Yeah, that's what every pizza is.
Can we take Thanksgiving in October too? Can we have two Thanksgivings?
Not
Can
bad.
we take that from Canada?
Not bad. Okay. Ketchup,
Little known fact: they do Thanksgiving a different month.
ice wine. There's something called, again, this is Google's list of the best things from Canada. They have something called ice wine, a dessert wine made from grapes frozen on the vine, famously produced in the Niagara region. So if there's any wienophiles out there who want to tell me if ice wine is any good, is that something we want to steal for ourselves? Will we have room in the storage facilities after we fill them with the maple syrup? Probably not. So ice wine, you might have to go.
And the Grey Cup, that's in the storage facility too. We're not gonna do anything with the Grey Cup, but we'll take it. You can't keep it anymore.
Let's see. Insulin Canada gave us insulin in 1922.
I mean, America's already been benefiting from that.
We already have enough of that, I think. Hopefully. Paintball. Apparently they invented paintball up there. Basketball was invented by a Canadian. We already stole
But
that.
in the United States.
We already co-opted basketball, okay?
Yeah, cool. Dr. James Naismith, shout out to his Canadian roots, but he did it in Massachusetts, so it's not yours. Sorry.
Yeah, there's just a lot of things. If we don't want the maple syrup and the Tim Hortons, there's not a lot that Canada can really offer us. Apparently, they did invent garbage bags, though, and the paint roller. The pager didn't last very long. I don't know if I believe this. Although popular culture would have some believe otherwise, peanut butter was not invented by American botanist George Washington Carver. Rather, it was created in 1884 by Canadian pharmacist Marcellus Gilmore Edson, who likened the consistency of his product to that of butter, lard, or ointment. Canada's trying to claim they invented peanut butter. I don't know.
George Washington Carver would have something to say about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Like this article says, no, that was a false claim. I don't know. I don't like that. Isaac Shade, if you were following his Twitter, he was all the way in on the hardcore Team USA hockey following, and as everyone should have been. Host of Locked On College Basketball and Locked On Tar Heels, and friend of the program. We haven't talked to him in a while, but we get to talk to him again. Isaac, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I am great, man. I'm still reveling in that golden glow from yesterday.
How incredible was it? I mean, like, in sports now, there's so many subplots and weird stories around sports, and some of them are inspirational and great, and some of them are just like contract disputes and collective bargaining and NIL and all this stuff. It felt like, and I know the Olympics do a good job of doing this, it felt like for that blessed couple hours, we got to boil it down to a good old-fashioned country versus country rivalry, and the guys cared a lot. It was a beautiful thing to see Team USA take the gold.
It was like that patriotism of it, but then mixed with the beautiful storylines of like 46 years to the day since the Miracle on Ice and Johnny Gaudreau's family and his sweet kids being out there and the second birthday. Like those, like how could you not be enamored with the beauty of the story of sport? And man, it just, I literally sat in tears on my couch. I don't mind admitting that at all.
Yeah, it was really incredible to see. And now we turn back to the sports that we always pay attention to. Now, a lot of people pay attention to hockey all the time, but we're getting into this time of year where suddenly college basketball, even for the casual fan, gets a lot more interesting. We're a couple weeks away from tournament time, and the Big 12 especially has gotten really, really interesting. This past weekend, Arizona reclaimed the top spot in the conference, and there was that logjam at the top. They've got a couple tough tests left. You know, they still have to play Iowa State. Do you think Arizona can stay at the top of this Big 12 conference as we head to the tournament?
I do think they can. And to be very frank and honest with you, I thought they should have ascended back to number one in the new poll today. My issue was last week I thought the AP voters dropped them further than they should have after the losses to Kansas, at Kansas, by the way, and Texas Tech in overtime. As their first two losses, and that's to take nothing away from Duke. I just think that Arizona is the more complete of those two teams. But, I mean, we're splitting hairs. They're 1 and 2 in some order, and that's fine with me. Man, you're right. This logjam at the top of the Big 12 is crazy. We had 3 of the top 5 teams in the Big 12 lose over the weekend. And you look at this closing slate for Arizona. It is difficult. They've got to go to Waco. That's tomorrow. They got Kansas at home on Saturday. They got Iowa State at home on Big Monday next week. I tell you, these Big Monday games deliver every single week. It's crazy. And then they go to Colorado to close it out. The nice thing is those 2 hardest games are both at home. You never know what you're going to get with Darren Peterson. I'm very excited to see, though, because obviously Houston has won the Big 12 in each of these first 2 years. They're right there. First 2 years they've been in the conference. They're 1 game back right now. And, man, I am very curious to see how it plays out.
You mentioned his name, and my listeners are probably sick of me talking about Darren Peterson because he's a Kansas Jayhawk. But I'm morbidly fascinated with this whole process. And I don't even know what the right way to ask a question about it, but is it being handled properly? Is there another way for Bill Self in Kansas to go about this? I do feel like there's probably a lot of different ways Darren himself and his camp could go about it. But again, I don't really know. Maybe he does cramp more than anybody on the planet. Just give me your thoughts on Darren Peterson.
It's a weird thing. The closest I was thinking about this actually last week. 2 years ago, Bill Self had a similar situation with Kevin McCullough, who was his best player that year. And down the stretch of the season, McCullough dealt with some knee injuries and was in and out of the lineup a little bit. And I could sense Bill Self for a long time holding it, like any of the critique he was keeping internalized. And eventually that veneer cracked, and you could see, I could sense the frustration in him with basically, he more or less said, without directly saying it, that Kevin McCullough was a wimp and wasn't manning up and playing. And I finally last week for the first time heard some of that same level of frustration with the Darren Peterson situation. I don't know that there's a good way to frame it. I personally am of the mind that he's not ducking the smoke. I wonder if some of his pain tolerance threshold is lesser than some other people. It's an odd situation with a guy that is the odds-on favorite to be the number one pick in the draft, with all due respect to A.J. DeBonsa and all due respect to Cam Boozer, who just wins and wins and wins, and a couple other guys. I think ultimately, to me, I legitimately think it just feels like a situation where it's just coincidentally weird stuff all happening in succession, from the cramping and hammy stuff to the bad ankle situation he had to the sickness, the kind of flu symptoms he had a little bit after that. That said, though, I feel like Darren himself could be handling this better to kind of paint himself in a better light. He just, like, the asking out and the other things, it's not a good look. And if I'm his teammates, I'm wildly frustrated at the back and forth. Like, if I'm Melvin Council Jr., when am I supposed to be the dude, and when am I supposed to take a back seat? How do you figure out how to do a team in that way? I don't know.
Yeah, that is one of the more interesting things about the whole situation, because even his coach has said, well, we've gotten pretty good at winning without him, which, if you're a player, you hate hearing that, even if it's not directed as an insult. Right. I'm at 42, barely mature enough to say, all right, that's not directed at me. If I'm in my 20s, I'm looking at that going like, oh, for real? Like, you're taking a shot at me? Like, the whole situation is odd. But let's say that, nothing changes and Kansas gets exactly this from Darren Peterson, which is great play when he's on the floor, question mark, whether he's going to be there or not, sometimes inconsistent shooting. If this is exactly what they get from the eventual number 1, number 2, number 3 NBA draft pick, how far can they take it, both in Big 12 basketball and in the NCAA tournament?
They're right there, better than where I expected them to be even before the season in terms of where they're sitting in the Big 12. Back-to-back years they've been outside the top 3 in the Big 12, they were trending for the third time in a row, which would have been the first time ever in Kansas history doing that. That was a number I looked up over the offseason. Right now they're tied for third with Iowa State, with Texas Tech. I think at worst they can be a top 4 seed in the Big 12, because you've got Texas Tech now struggling with JT Toppin gone. They're going to be okay, but they're not going to be elite. Obviously for BYU, I thought it was really important, the showing that they had on Saturday with Richie Saunders out, with Robert Wright only scoring 6 points, and still doing what they did. I thought it was really good in that regard. So I think BYU is going to be better off than I thought they were going to be, but they're still 2 games back of Kansas. So I think Kansas finishes at least top 4 in the Big 12. And then, we had the reveal of the top 16 on Saturday. Kansas finds their way into that as a 3 seed, the 10th overall team. And so if you're the Jayhawks, your 4 remaining games are versus Houston, at Arizona State, and home to a Jerome Tangless Kansas State. So, at worst, the Jayhawks are going to go 2-2. The problem is they're coming off that loss to Cincinnati, a bad loss to Cincinnati. And so my projection for Kansas is they're at least a second week. This is at least a Sweet 16 team with, I'll call it Final Four upside if things go right and Darren Peterson can stay on the floor.
Well, I may have buried the lead a little bit, but the BYU Cougars have a lot more local interest here, and you mentioned them, and A.J. DeBonsa, he played all 40 minutes and nearly had a triple-double, massively important to that win the other night, and it's like, I mean, this guy has lived up to the hype in a lot of different ways. The roster itself hasn't necessarily, especially with the Richie Saunders injury and some questions about how much you can get off the bench, which we finally got at least a decent optimistic answer to this past weekend. But it's the same question I have about Kansas. Is it going to take superhuman performances every night from A.J. DeBonsa for this BYU team to make any real noise? Or can we see more of what we saw on the weekend where your bench is alive and awake and you get somebody besides DeBonsa or Wright contributing?
Right. Yeah. I mean, one of the critical things we talked about on Locked On College Basketball last week is somebody's going to have to step up. Is it Kennard Davis that's going to have a better game? We postulated, and sure enough, he did. I thought you saw a nice game from Mihailo Boskovich, right? Like, so you had a couple of these guys stepping up, and they're going to have to continue to do so. I think, yes, at some level, AJ is going to have to be superhuman, but it can't just be him. Like Robert Wright it's similar to, let's compare it to what we just talked about in Lubbock, Texas. They're down JT Toppin, and so now that means that Christian Anderson has to step up and be a dude. I think Rob Wright's kind of in that same mold. Like it's got to be a Batman and Robin of AJ and Rob. Like that to me is the key with Richie out now. But then you've got Keba Keita and all his athleticism and experience, oh, by the way, right? Like, I think there's a lot of that you lean on, but then it's so difficult because of other depth. You know, you think about somebody like Dawson Baker. How much would he add if he was healthy, right? And so that's the struggle for me is it's not just Richie. There's other injury issues up and down the roster, and that's a problem. But as we get here into March, where you're going to shorten your bench anyway, it's like, all right, look, Keba, Rob, AJ, Kennard, like, guys, we just got to lock in and go. You're all going to play a crap ton of minutes, and you just got to be ready for it.
We're talking a little college hoop here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Isaac Shade is the host of Locked On College Basketball and kind enough to give us some time today. So the rest of the log jam near the top of this Big 12 tournament, I think that there's 4 or 5 teams capable of winning the conference tournament. I think that there's more than that who are going to be in the NCAA. But is there anyone without a ranking number next to their name right now who you think in this Big 12 conference could do something, could be something when we get to the postseason?
Specifically in the Big 12 tournament or in the NCAA tournament as well?
Well, I guess if you do it in the Big 12 tournament, maybe that gives you a shot to do it in the NCAA. But I'm mostly focusing on the NCAA tournament.
Fair. I mean, we saw – here's what's funny to me. 5 games ago, Cincinnati loses a basketball game to West Virginia. Wes Miller's out here apologizing to his fans and his crowd. They're on a 4-game winning streak since then, including winning at Allen Fieldhouse by 16. You got Baba Miller, who was expected to be so good for a couple years down at Florida State, never really lived up to that. Suddenly he's playing better. I think there's possibility there. UCF is a team that's kind of been up and down. I think they're going to make the tournament. And that's the question with Cincinnati is, can they even do enough down the stretch here to get themselves in? Because obviously they're very bubblicious. And, like, it's weird because you've got some of these other teams. You know, you expect Baylor in other years to do it. Well, they're obviously not going to make the tournament. And so, for my money, a team with a number not next to its name, it's probably got to be UCF. I can't really see them getting to the second weekend, but I think UCF could be like a second round kind of team. And if it hits right and they get the right matchup, maybe there's an upset on the other side. They can make it to Sweet 16. But really outside of the tops, I think the Big 12 is the best conference in basketball this season, but it's a very top-heavy 6.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We've come to see that, I think, over the course of this thing. I haven't asked you anything about Iowa State, and they've flirted with the top 5 all year long. Are they, when we get into the tournament and they're something like a 2 seed, are they going to make a deep run?
I think they very well could. So much of March is just about experience. It's about guards. Tamin Lipsey brings both of those things. Milan Momcilovic, one of the huge things for me coming into this season is he had to step up and be more of a dude, right? He's been there the past couple of years, been there all along. He was there when they won the Big 12 championship. Was that 2 years ago now in 24? Yeah, beat Houston. And but you bring in that, and then you've got like this precocious freshman in Killian Torrey. You've got Joshua Jefferson, who's just an absolute dude. At Ken Palm right now, he's second in the nation in Player of the Year data. And so I just feel like TJ Otzelberger has these pieces that all come together. You've got, I didn't even think about another freshman in Jamarian Bateman and Blake Buchanan as the big. So the pieces are there for Iowa State. I believe in TJ Otzelberger as a coach. I know Tamin Lipsey's undersized, but man, that senior experience that he brings, that offensive rebound he got coming across the free throw lane to finish off the Houston game on last Monday, a week ago today. I mean, it's like those kind of plays that make me believe in them. And I think that then is an encouraging thing. Let's go back to the BYU of it all for Iowa State to be coming off back-to-back top 10 wins over Kansas and Houston. And then a Richie Saunders-less BYU says, all right, come on up to Provo. We're going to take care of business as well. And so that's, I think, a good sign both for Iowa State that it's like they're doing what they need to do, had just been named the number 1 seed by the committee earlier on Saturday. I think they probably do end up as a 2 because I just think that's where they're going to end up falling. But that was also an encouragement for me because I believe a lot in Iowa State. And so for what the Cougs showed on Saturday night, that was encouraging as well.
I think I know where you stand on this, but I want to give you the space. 68 teams right now in the NCAA tournament. There's continuous talk about us needing more or getting more. What do you think?
You're absolutely correct. You know where I stand on that. It's dumb and pointless, and we already don't have enough what I would call worthy teams to fill out the field. It is a money grab. It is a Greg Sankey wanting to take care of the SEC kind of thing. You know, it's like that whole thing. It's a similar conversation to expanding the college football playoff. And I know Charlie Baker, the NCAA president, would talk about inclusion and making sure we've got a certain percent of our makeup of our body in the postseason tournament. But my pushback is always every one of the 365 teams in men's college basketball has a chance to make the NCAA tournament because of their conference tournament. That is their opportunity. If we want more inclusion, dadgummit, 365 teams. Are you kidding? Like, they should not all be competing for the same trophy. That is an absurdity. You want Arizona and Duke and Michigan to be playing for the same crown that Mississippi Valley State and Coppin State are playing for? It doesn't make sense. Let's not expand the same. It feels inevitable at this point, but I'm going to keep trying to ring the bell for as long as I can that, like if anything, I would rather retract back to 64 than expand beyond 68. And it sounds like if and when they expand, it's not going to be just a little jump to 72. They're going to go on up to 76.
Well, yeah, that's we will need that. We'll need another bunch of teams that have no shot of winning the actual real thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes we need adults in the room when it comes to these NCAA decisions, but we haven't got them yet.
We need a college basketball czar.
We need czars in football, in basketball, in softball, in base. Yeah. I never thought that, I mean, especially after some gold medal wins, we'd be coming on a Monday and talking about how the USA needs some czars, but we need them.
That's so good.
Isaac, thanks for your time today. Appreciate you. Keep up the great work.
Oh, man. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate you, brother. Have a great afternoon.
Isaac Shade, host of Locked On College Basketball, Locked On Tar Heels as well. He's really, really, really dialed in on all things college hoops. All right, so one of the other conversations that came out of the gold medal games this past weekend was, well, is this overtime? And we've done this with football. We've done it with baseball. Is this overtime really the best version of what the sport can be? And I want to tell you why. Whatever the overtime medicine is, you just take it. We'll get there next. It's the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Uh, 1980 chart toppers to bring us in and out on the Sean O'Connell Show today, because 46 years ago, Team USA won gold in Olympic hockey. That one was over the Soviet Union. This one over Team Canada on Sunday. And Queen, Crazy Little Thing Called Love was the number one song on the Billboard charts February 23rd, March 1st, March 8th, and March 15th. So 4 weeks at the very top of the charts. It's wild You go back and you say, all right, 1980 chart toppers, these are still songs that you're hearing today. All of them. Except maybe John Lennon's, he had the number one song at the end of the year, John Lennon's solo, Just Like Starting Over. I'm not super familiar with that one. Anyway, some sour grapes over the weekend from Canadians, which I don't know why. There's a sort of perverse pleasure I take in the sorry, super polite Canadians having to show their true colors, their like actual petty, angry sports fan colors. It's nice to see that, you don't always live up to the reputation of being nicer than everyone else. They are big mad over the men's hockey gold game going into overtime. And they felt the same way about the women's hockey game going into overtime and being 3-on-3. Coach complains about it. Nathan McKinnon says, well, I think you saw who the better team is. Stop it. All right? Overtime rules are never going to be perfect in any sport. Either the fact that you do it sudden death or you don't do it sudden death, or the fact that in hockey's case you take a couple guys off the ice and then you let them skate with a little more space and a little bit more of an opportunity to create scoring chances. Like, I don't like 3-on-3 basketball or 3-on-3 hockey as much as I like 5-on-5. But if we're getting to a situation where we've played 60 minutes of 5-on-5 and you're not able to find separation, that's the whole point of overtime. Let's create some separation here. Let's condense this down. Let's speed this thing up. And by the way, if you did the NHL Stanley Cup final rules in Olympic hockey, guess who would not agree to let their players go? The NHL. It's already a dicey situation where you've got, Sidney Crosby is now injured with at least some level of severity to that injury, or else he would have been playing in the gold medal game.
And the Penguins have a shot at winning a cup.
And the Penguins are now looking at this and just being like, oh, for real? We're down our captain, just like Canada was down its captain? That sucks for us. Now, there's only a certain amount of choice because the players wanted to play, and they wanted this to be in the collective bargaining agreement. They wanted Olympic hockey to be part of the reality for NHL players. But there's compromises that have to be made somewhere. And the condensation of this tournament down to a couple weeks and, yes, some overtime games being 3-on-3, which is the same as regular season hockey in the NHL, had to be part of that. This is something I really, really get bothered about when we talk about shootouts even, right? There's a lot of people in soccer get really, really mad when even after extra time, there's no winner and it has to go to a shootout. Because, no, this is not the game. We're not deciding it by playing the game. And it's like, I know. The reason we're not deciding it by playing the normal game is because you couldn't decide it by playing the normal game.
You already played the game.
You played the game and you couldn't get a definitive decision on who was better. So we have to do something else. Now, it's still within the structure, the framework of what soccer is or what hockey is or what basketball is or what college football is or what the NFL is. And they try to tweak these things and improve these things. But it's never going to be perfect. And do you know why it's never going to be perfect? Because perfection in those games is finishing in regulation, somebody finding who is the winner in regulation. And if you can't do it in regulation and you have to do it in a different way afterwards, take your medicine and say, if we were truly the better team, if we were that much better than so-and-so, we would have beat them in the rule set that we all knew was going to be in place for the first 60 minutes. We knew it was going to happen. We played it. We couldn't figure out who was better. Their goaltender, in this case Connor Hellebuyck, stood on his head and saved the hopes of hockey in his damn country, and we could not break that wall. That's on us. Not, well, the rules, we don't like 3-on-3 hockey. By the way, 3-on-3 hockey favors skill and speed more than anything else. And what does Canada have in spades? Skill and speed. So it's probably better for you, 3-on-3 hockey. So knock it off.
I feel like basketball is the only sport that we don't hear these complaints about because they just, in every level, you just add 5 minutes and whoever's leading after 5 minutes, and you don't have a free throw or a 3-point shootout, which that's fine. But I'm with you on this. We got to stop trying to change the rules to make it perfect. The NFL has had 4 different overtime changes because since Josh Allen and the Bills didn't get the ball get the ball again when they played the Chiefs in that classic in the divisional round, right? Like, you know what? At a certain point, we just have to be able to accept that sometimes guys that we want to win lose.
Well,
you personally, sometimes you lose, man, and losing sucks and it feels unfair, but you got to be able to accept the loss.
And there's just never a time where it only cuts one way, ever. There's never a situation like Canada made it to the gold medal game with 2 overtime victories using 3-on-3 hockey. There was no complaint in those situations from the entire nation. America's hat was not like, well, we really shouldn't have beat the Finns, but we're good at 3-on-3 hockey. When it goes your way, you never cry about it, right? When there's a questionable call from the officials, but it favors your team, you might side-eye look at your friend who's also a fan. And ooh, yikes, we got lucky on that one. And look, Team USA got lucky in the gold medal game. They should have had a penalty called for too many men on the ice with a mess in a late shift change, right? Would that have changed things? Potentially. Complain about that? I will listen to you, and then I will say, well, you should have had this called against you. You should have had that called against you. You might not have gotten past Sweden if you had this called against you, whatever.
What was it the Finnish game? Yeah, it was the Finnish game in the semifinal. Brad Marchand, there was a lot of people that thought he interfered with the goalie. Should have been goalie interference on the game, or was a game tying goal in that comeback win. You benefit from it just like you're victimized by it.
And by the way, I'm totally fine with when it's the University of Cincinnati coach being like, yeah, well, we played them tough and then this call goes against us and that sucks. Or when it's some random high school coach or some fan base from wherever. But this is, you have the best players in the world. We have a group of the best players in the world, but our collection is probably second to your collection. And Nate McKinnon should tuck his tail and go back to Colorado, where hopefully he gets lustily booed by all the American fans there. He missed an open net. You're supposed to be one of the 5 best players on planet Earth. You had a situation, and again, these snapshots never tell the full story, but that snapshot tells a lot of the story, where you have Connor Hellebuck is facing the opposite way. He is looking away from you. He has not even turned his head yet in the freeze frame, and the puck is on your stick, and there is open real estate in front. That entire wedge from back of the goal to you is wide open, and you missed. You didn't score the goal. You cannot then go and say, well, we're the better team. 3-on-3 hockey is not real hockey. Well, then why is it part of your game? You are part of the decision-making process, coaches, players, in how overtime rules are handled. Now, it's a pretty indirect. If you don't like overtime hockey, you as a player can't be like, well, I'm not going to play overtime hockey. But you're part of the conversation, especially when you're a star player, especially when you're a coach.
Especially at the Olympic level, if you're Canada. You guys could have – and maybe they did. Maybe they spent some time, the Canadian Olympic Committee, the Hockey Federation, whatever the titles are here. Maybe they spent some time trying to lobby against this, and it didn't happen. I doubt it, though. There's that sort of thing. They'll probably do the lobbying now so that in 4 years it's not a thing. And I'm just going back to my earlier point. I'm sick of us trying to tweak everything to make it fair for everybody who lost. You got to be able to accept that when you play a game, it's hard to when you're really competitive, OC. But when you play a game, you can either win or you can lose. And sometimes it's out of your control whether you lose and you feel like it was out of your control and that feels unfair. But you have to be able to accept it without going, no, let's just change the rules so I can win every time. It's stupid.
Winning the game is ideal, right? Losing the game and taking your medicine and going home silently is secondary option. Losing the game and complaining about the officials is worse than just going home quietly, but it's still not as bad as losing the game and then complaining about the rule set and the format completely. That is beneath you, Canada. Just like the U.S. is beneath you geographically, that is beneath you to have the elite players and coaches in a game that is your national pastime saying, well, we don't actually like this game that much when you get to overtime. We love everything about it in regulation, but we don't actually like it very much when we get to overtime. It's not as good. So it kind of doesn't count if you win in the not as good part. Now, if you're a fan and you want to do that, great. Fans are allowed. I will listen to whatever salty Canadian fan with the Tim Hortons cup in their hand saying how,
talking about his casuals down here.
Yeah, that's fine. That's how fans are supposed to behave. That is not how players and coaches at that level are supposed to behave. I would be embarrassed if this were the men's team, the United States men's team. If it had gone the other way and the Kachuk brothers said, well, overtime hockey sucks, man. But guys, that is a bad look because it is. And by the way, ain't no shame in losing to the best team in the world. See what I did there?
Well, and
USA.
Even if you don't want to be petty about it, which of course we want to be petty about it, there's no shame in losing by 1 goal in overtime in a gold medal game. Like, that's...
Unless, of course, your entire national identity is wrapped up in this sport and this sport only. And then and by the way, the secondary national identity sport you got caught cheating in, Canada.
Yeah.
Maybe things are not going as well as you thought.
Both the men and women, by the way, got caught cheating in. By the way, that's I'm glad we haven't brought it up yet, but as the curling expert, I feel obliged to bring it up. We did have one U.S. versus Canada letdown over the weekend, and that was the women, unfortunately, falling in the bronze medal game. I was so... They got it to 8-7 going into the final end. They were the U.S. women were down for most of the game, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, they could come back, rip this bronze medal from Canada, and keep them off the podium. Number 1 team in the world in curling too." Unfortunately, it wasn't in the cards for U.S. But yeah, it's just we have to. As a society, OC, not to make this way bigger than it needs to be, but it is troubling that we just can't, that it feels like more than ever we're having a way too hard a time accepting losses. Like, it's an essential part of life. Not everything's going to go your way. And by the way, you're the main character in your own story, but everyone else is the main character in their story. So it doesn't really matter if you fall in someone else's perspective here. Like, you have to be able to accept that.
Yeah. And by the way, Team Canada, you wanted for Team USA to not be able to skate into the stands and not get Johnny Gaudreau's kids and not have them pose with their dad's sweater in the Olympic championship
That's
gold
not
medal
classy.
picture. That's what you wanted, Canada?
I thought you guys liked Johnny Hockey too up there. Maybe not.
He spent 6 seasons in Calgary? Come on.
By the way, one other thing with this game, how about that double team Kachuk body check into the stands at the very beginning of the game? That was, if you weren't already hyped for a gold medal game in this rivalry, and if you're an American going, oh, we've been so close, it's our time. If that wasn't already hyping you up, 30 seconds into the game, seeing the Kachuk brothers, who everybody hates, unless it's Team USA hockey or they're on your favorite NHL team, like, just double team. I can't remember who it was, but double team the guy right off the side there. The announcer, the rink side analyst, saying that happened right in front of my face. That was incredible. Like, that was what a way to start the game.
The Kachuk brothers are nothing if not tone setters, so that was a good example of that. So this becomes part of, by the way, the official stance on things of the Sean O'Connell Show. You are not allowed to complain about overtime rules or formats in sports. You're not. If you ever catch me doing it, 877-353-0700, call me and call me out. I get docked James Peterson points if I ever do that. But I won't because I think it's silly. I like overtime, how it raises the stakes and makes it harder to win. That's the whole point. You got to find an end to the game, and you took 60 minutes and you wasted it all.
When in physical sports like football and hockey, collision sports like those two sports, and also in a tournament when like the Olympics where you're playing the next day or a couple days later, you cannot afford to have these things drag out another 60 minutes of game time. So you have to find a way, like you said, it's an unfortunate, like necessary evil if you view it that way, that we have to find a way to shorten this game and get an ending as quickly as we possibly can. And for hockey, they've decided 3-on-3 in the regular season in the NHL and in the Olympics. That's the best way to do it.
You know what's crazy?
It's okay.
So
everything's going to be okay.
In jiu-jitsu tournaments, there's an overtime rule in jiu-jitsu tournaments.
Is there really?
Where what they do is they let somebody start with a choke, right? So they get somebody into a position, they like set them up in a position where the choke is pretty much on. It's over. They're on your back. They have your arm around your neck. And then if you can get out of it, then you can keep fighting. Otherwise, it's going to end like right there. That's probably an unfair overtime rule. 3-on-3 is not, okay?
It's not near that's not near as similar as baseball, but it sounds almost like how baseball is like in the regular season now.
Runner in scoring position.
Put a guy in scoring position. But
early signups are open for the ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM $1 Million Bracket Challenge. ESPN700sports.com has all the info. Get ready for the madness. This is brought to you by Big Willie's, Game Day Men's Health, Intermountain Bobcat, Budweiser International, Budweiser International Sportsman's Expo, and the Utah RV Super Show. Trivia next. Some crosstalk with Spence. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Funky Town, one of the chart toppers from 1980, which of course was the Miracle on Ice year. Last time Team USA men's hockey took home a gold medal. Actually, let's see, 4 weeks at the top of the charts. Funky Town by Lips Inc. May 31st to June 21st. Number one song according to the Billboard music charts. All right. Topical trivia question today. What Team USA hockey member becomes the third member of his family to win gold? A man from this family have been on every gold medal U.S. hockey team ever. 1960, 1980, 2026. Who is that player? 877-353-0700. Crosstalk is brought to you by our friends at Advanced Window Products. 801-850-9100. $2,500 off 10 windows or more. Lifetime warranty on those windows. Save yourself the energy costs, the hassle, and all of it by calling Nate Orchard and Jake Weber and company. The Drive with Spence Checketts is next. He and Duke are here in studio today.
Here we go.
Duke's getting real froggy over here.
Here we go. Duke has no chance. He has zero chance. Duke is the Americans, and Rocky is the Canadians.
Don't make Rocky a Canadian.
Well, no, Duke is just hoping to get to overtime and have one shot at it. This is an absolute mismatch over here. But
Rocky outweighs Duke by about 70 pounds. So
kind of like kind of like us. Our dogs, in a way, represent because.
Yeah, about 70 pounds.
Do you dare say how much you're weighing these days on air?
Yeah, I'm like 235.
Yeah, our dogs are us basically.
Yeah.
Good conversation heading in. You know, it's funny. I'm assuming you got up and watched the thing live, right?
I did.
Yeah, so did I. So when the third period ended, I had two reactions. Holy smokes, we survived, and we have no shot at 3-on-3. You know, like that's where my head was. Because if we're honest, Canada outplayed us. They did.
Yes.
Needed Hellebuck to go Jimmy Craig 1980, which he did. But, there's two sides of the coin here because you reference McKinnon just whiffing on a wide open net. 5-on-3 for 30, for 90 seconds. It felt like 20 minutes. Out shooting us, 46-28 on goal. So, yes, Canada, in my opinion, was the better team. But if you don't finish your chances in hockey and in soccer, it allows for that one moment, and that's all you need, the one moment where you turn the puck over, and Jack Hughes, with no front teeth, just finishes it brilliantly.
Teeth that you knocked out earlier in the game on the double minor.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It was as fun of an event that I've watched just as a sports consumer in a long time, man. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
By the way, in 3-on-3 hockey, Canada got basically the first run at it. And what happened? Connor McDavid left the puck by itself about 20 feet from the mouth of USA's goal.
Yeah.
Just missed. Just over-pursued himself.
Yeah, and
skated right past it.
And when he got the goal, I'm like, when he got the puck, because when McDavid has that head speed, he's as fast as any skater I've ever seen in my life.
He was too fast for his own self.
It's really impressive. So when they set up their play, and you knew what they were doing because he's the best in the world right now, and he got the puck with a full head of speed, I was ready to, okay, it's over, done. I'm still stunned that they were able to get it done, man. It was a very American win.
It was beautiful. It was incredible. The post-game celebration where they brought Johnny Hockey's kids out onto the ice.
Yeah.
Man, I'm getting real soft. I was with my
Oh,
daughter.
yeah.
My daughter woke up to watch with me.
Nice.
And so we're cuddling on the couch watching that. And she's like, "Why? What's wrong?"
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, "No, nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just very happy for this team." Like, that was a beautiful, beautiful thing. And you kind of forget how profound the brotherhood can be because it's professional sports,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And all the players talked about it, especially with that moment. So, man, great day to be an American.
Yeah. Well, and you see why. So the last CBA in the NHL was about 5 years ago. And as they were and look, every league does this where it's like, oh, the CBA is coming up. We're far apart. We might have a lockout, blah, 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 blah. But the conversation was some owners in the NHL were going to push back on letting pros play in the Olympics. And you can see why now. That was the one issue where the players are like, we are dying on this hill, just so you know. Like, this is important to us. Because as much of an incredible accomplishment it is to win a Stanley Cup, I can't imagine what those guys were going through after winning the first gold medal in 46 years against Canada in overtime. You know, like, you fight for moments like that because it's got to mean more than anything you could possibly accomplish as a paid professional, would be my guess.
Happy for Connor Hellebuck, too, because
For
there's been
sure.
a lot of conversation about him not being able to win the big one, and he did. He won the biggest one, and he did it without a ton of help for, like, I don't know, 32 of those 60 minutes.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Well, I mean, he was yanked in the playoffs last year like 3 times, right, against the Blues. Not a highly, what was he, a 5th-round draft pick, like the 13th goalie drafted in that draft cycle. And, you know, I was thinking about this on Sunday after the game was over. I think most people that cover sports believe that quarterback in football is the most important position in all of sports. There's one position where I think you have a little bit of an argument. It's goalie in hockey or keeper in soccer. You know, like, yeah, I mean, if you have an awesome wing in the NBA, you need that. But if you go, like, most important position in all of team sports, goalie or keeper is the only answer that I think you can put alongside quarterback.
Which is what's so interesting about this version of Team Canada is, like, Binnington's a good goalie, but he's not like a top 5 goalie in the world.
Right. Well,
so you've got top 5 guys at every other position, even on your second line.
Yeah.
And then you've got, you know, Trent Dilfer playing quarterback.
Right. Yeah. No, it's a good point. And like, we got the French Alps in 4 years, and then we've got Salt Lake after that. Canada's not going to take this. I mean, look, I hope this is the start of a long generational good run for USA hockey, but I think we forget just how good at hockey they are. And over the next 4 years, you know, this is not something that's going to sit well with them.
Won't matter if they don't have the goalie.
This is true. This is true. Are we doing like the American thing today?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, I didn't know.
And guess what? We're claiming whatever we want from Canada today.
Are we really?
Yep.
Maple syrup.
I'm taking maple syrup. I'm taking poutine.
Mike Myers.
All right.
A lot of funny people.
We've decided we want the polar bears because we don't have enough.
Oh.
All right.
So we could use a few more polar bears down here.
We're taking the polar bears.
Mm-hmm.
French-Canadian women for Spence.
Nice. Thank you.
All right.
Mounties. I don't know.
No.
I'm going to have to look at a list.
Don't
Okay.
want 'em.
Did I go too far?
Don't want Mounties.
Okay. I'll have to look at a list of Canadian exports.
What if Americans just start saying A with everything?
We're awesome at hockey and we say A now?
We just culturally appropriate the whole A.
That would not sit well with them.
Yeah. That's the whole point.
Rachel McAdams, Canadian.
There you go.
Again,
Justin Bieber.
now
Already got him.
Okay. We got Biebs.
Yeah.
A lot of comedians, a lot of entertainers.
Rush.
We'll take the holy Trinity. We'll take Rush.
What's up, Rush?
I'm going to continue this theme. I'm going to have to look at a list though before I get definitive.
There's a lot of good Canadian things.
Yes, there is.
They gave us insulin. We found that out on the show today.
Did they really?
I guess.
Well, shout out Canada then.
They also try to take peanut butter. George Washington Carver. They're trying to steal peanut butter from him as the inventor. So
okay.
I don't know, Canada, but what I do know is we're better than you are at hockey. Our men and our women.
Well said. No notes.
Stay tuned for the Drive with Spence Checketts. Thanks for listening to the Sean O'Connell Show. We'll do it again tomorrow.